Today is Tuesday, July 7th, 2023. Welcome to the date.
Be careful out there. That arm is unstable. Not sure how long it's gonna hold. There's warning lights everywhere. Abort! Abort! We've lost comm. Look out. It's out of control. Are you okay?
Yes, blessings. God's spare life out there for all of you. Yes, so far, yeah, we there. We're trying our best. And I'm just, like we always learn during hard times, as all those great leaders say out there. They like to wait stuff out, keep your head down, and just see what's going on. So a lot's been going on, and I've been doing a lot of reading. So yeah, this is the next episode, as we call. We're going to probably have some guests coming up also, but these are the mini intro clips as to what's been going on. A lot's been going on since we last put out our last post on gonad worship. And this one is the truth and consequences for Pontius Pilate hating on the conscious Israelites. So I got some pull up reads here for this, of course, always hot summer. One of the top 10 ones I highly recommend is the book on the Scythians, right? And, folks will go, well, what's a Scythian? So, even if you go to the internet encyclopedia, even of Ukraine, you'll tell you the Scythians here, and you can print that out. And of course, my site always is to encourage you to read. And of course, sometimes you're looking for certain information, you don't know where to get it, right? So, has things changed? No. You got a little preview here of Herod the Great, right? Despite the negative evolution of Herod in traditional Jewish sources, archaeological evidence seems to suggest that, with some notable exceptions, Herod saw himself as tied to the Jewish religion and tried to a certain extent to uphold its laws, even in his own lifestyle. So that's probably, maybe we'll take a little look into that. But even before we start, there is some clips I want to show you, but these are some also books you might want to check out, and they are downloadable if you desire to select. Um, Now, on with the show. We will look on and have a little reading here. Investigation points to family conspiracy to silence MLK Jr. Now, we're going to talk a bit in code, but there were some things, some major takeaways that I kind of felt. So, I guess in this first part, but just before we go there, I'm going to show you, hold on. At the end of this great post, these are other books here that you can take a look, download, and read, right? Just wanted to show you here. The Negro Question, right, by George W. Caver. But before that, let's scroll all the way down here, right? I highly recommend, along with these books, check out IUIC TV live stream. So I'm going to show you a little clip, and we'll get back to some of the stuff that I've been downloading here for you. But yeah, this is really great information because I've been listening to these wise and old, in the sense that the bros are doing something. The brothers are here. Some people will say prophets, but we all could prophesize, right? Because we see this reality that just never seems to go away. And it's so, yes, it becomes spiritual, and your soul feels it because the system is out there, that hasn't been working for us. Howbeit, for what we can actually date it, 500 years. However, time travel, you try to go about it, as everything, including time, was constructed in this world. But all of that to say, we ain't seen nothing yet. But I highly would like to see things get better. It's good to bring in our young men at some type of peace. But as you're going to see, what I've seen from the brilliant site, you can actually check out these IUIC TV live stream. This here is let me just read this here. An introduction to righteousness. These are the beginning steps to walking in God's divine truth that you are an Israelite, a direct descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Yes, understand the Bible is your history book. So this is cool. This is like, this is what everything is. It's in its time, right? Because now most of us, myself, the bro, I'm from born in the the MLK generation. We were those kids that played together, got into the integration, whether it be even south, north, east, west, which did happen still in our generation. We know there's some damage going on that's actually contributing to our depopulation. So, since the revolution of the 1960s, late 60s, we haven't seen anything as blessed and miraculous as what the leadership of Israel United in Christ is. In simple, they're not like a gang, they're not like a militia, they're not, no, and you know what? They're not, I wouldn't say church, but the approach is a group that teaches the truth of the Bible. So, yes, big up. I just want to put a big shout out. So, I'm going to show you a clip. I'm not going to read everything because, oh, the show I do is mundane. And of course, I want to give a shout out to you guys, yeah, who are always interested in, giving a little donation if you want. But this is all like, hey, this is free will because as we are all still prisoners of war, hey, don't forget, the world's at war right now. We all have a chance, at least in our generation of X, to do something. So these bros are not a hate group. Even there, and of course, even like my fans here, some of you are of all kinds of groups, right? That for sure. The whole point is a lot of you realize that, well, it's about that second death, right? Because the physical body goes in the first death, and then you're hearing about the second, and the whole lineup with Jesus being a bro. Yeah, it's blowing people's minds because it hasn't been that long that we can, in our generation. No wonder they tried to get like J. Edgar Hoover was quoted, never let them get together. I guess part of that get together was knowing the truth of where they came from, right? So this is, we are living the times. I think everybody's catching what on. At least the folks who are instigating all whatever which is supposed to be evil in the world, right, are obviously being exposed as it had been written. So I'm not going to get into all that, but all of that was just a precursor to just show you what I was schooled on today. Let's sit back and hear this wisdom. Now, this is about, okay, so I was saying we're Gen Xers. So, and I still school about that, as you will see in the book Zulu's The Crown of Thorns. I'll be coming out shortly. 30, 40 years to, let's say, someone who's maybe 100 is not a long time. They could look at that and say, you know what, I lived to see this moment come through. So, to their uh, now disadvantage, okay, they played their card. So yes, I believe God's gonna play a card. But that card is the reality that's been written that, well, when he comes back and taking down the what is it, the 10 crowns and the horn, or 10 horns, right? We know what time it is. Now, I believe it's not a black and white issue, but the system of that so-called alliance, especially after the Second War, to keep you abreast up to date, didn't help anything or didn't help anybody after the World War II and Korea and Vietnam, right? He even was mocked on shows like comedies like MASH and Hogan's Heroes and war films, and that's of course what we see in the media. So by the time we were born into the 70s, children of that, and of course later on in the 90s, they called them indigo. And there's always something, you know what? It's all prophecy, either way, because you can kill all the bodies you want, but it shows that there's a spirit that's like, you know what? We ain't going to give up yet. And if you push so hard, so much that you want to make a creative new narrative of, let's say, flying saucers. Notice, I haven't seen. I mean, yeah, they're the drones, and it's the shit they made back in what, the 1940s, when they were stealing the technology from the 1920s. Except they put the adult, like, either way, I have not seen. any man on the moon in over since our generation had been in the house. But that's another issue. So people ask, what's up with all this black on black crime? Well, it's trauma. So, of course, with the post I'm sharing you, this is about at least keeping you abreast as to how savage the school to prison pipeline that was created in 19 like mid 1980s when generation X or boomers even were graduating out of school, and then they had affirmative action, and that shit didn't really help. And if anything, if it didn't only help, it only helped those who, once again went to a certain we'll say unspiritual class, right? Because now the unspiritual class exists. Huh? That's a new word. Unspirit. What does it mean? Unspirit means they don't believe in the spirit. They are unaligned on everything. But that's another ballgame. So here we are into the after the 90s. That child who was a crack baby in the 1980s. Think about this. And they're 40 now. Might run security for who? Somebody that might not be the most moral person because they live under the whole Babylon system, right? So prison to pipeline is real, and in this quick clip, you're going to see, and this is why I like what these brothers coming out. And of course, yes, Bishop Nathaniel is the biggest shout out, and Asaph, the biggest shout out to them because I'm learning so much. And even then, it's like a positive movement because they're not violent, right? There's more violent that we've seen in the last 30 years with the gangster film. And here's my thing about hip hop. Hip hop, yes, as great as it was, the fact that that shit's been going on for 50 years means that something the folks are doing out there is right. What is right, people will say? Well, maybe the fact that, well, they got us used to calling ourselves the N word, such to a point where other folks can appropriate and make that happen. Oh yeah, don't forget. I'll get back to the Scythians. I know I kind of digressed out there, but there were a few things to see. But before we get there, the whole point being that we know today the prison to pipeline system is there, and the whole gang thing has happened. And you know what? Even in Canada, we have it. We have the issue, but we've all been classified to the identity of the thug for about 40 years. So this is the account of someone who's like could be as old as I would say, maybe not a grandson, but well, highly likely born in the even 2000s, giving you their account. And Israel United in Christ, the deacons here are trying to explain. And once again, it's not a white black issue, but if you boil it down to it, who are the powers that be or the countries that say this is still legit to make this happen? So I'll just, yeah.
Drive down south, we be going different blitzes, doing different things, and you see these big fields of cotton. But you don't never see people picking.
I ain't never seen nobody picking no cotton. They hide them.
It's got to be hidden. It's got to be hidden. They can't put that on the main road. You imagine? Go ahead, Ken.
You'll see those big machines that they have out there. You be like, oh, okay, whatever, they getting it. No, that's not. No.
Can you imagine if you drove and seen that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, your brother's picking cotton
still
right
today.
There.
But the crazy part about it, we should be at the peak of machine learning.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
The Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
That lets you know that they have to keep breaking the buck.
Yeah.
No matter if you got an electric car.
Yep.
I still need niggas to pick that
there
cotton.
There you go, right there,
them.
bro. There you go, right, bro. It's insane. Go back to the video. Now, this is in Texas, and they're doing it all over the South. Because I got another article we're going to go with where they doing it in Arkansas. I grew up in Arkansas. Dang. Go ahead. Hit play.
Wait. So you have actually picked cotton off the cotton plant?
I have picked cotton off the cotton plant. Texas Department of Criminal Justice, you pick cotton off the cotton plant.
I remember.
I go out here to the fields, and this is something me and you would never think exists. Right around the corner here, it's plantations of nothing but cotton. The South Empire was built on cotton, and they hadn't changed it in the 90s. We was here to pick it. And look, when I got to the field, I'm like, I'm not picking that shit, nigga. I'm not no motherfucking slave. Y'all got. They drew their guns. You ask what happened. You say what happened.
Hold on, pause. Remember, we just read Leviticus 26.
And also, Cap, in the Willie Lynch letter, he said, get the male and whoop him.
Yeah, in front of everybody. And all, to the point of death. And then the Lord said he's going to put that fear. Watch this. Read. I mean, I said read. Play.
Shit, nigga, I'm not no motherfucking slave. Y'all got.
Excuse the language,
y'all. Drew their guns. You ask what happened. You say what happened. Right? Oh, they trained for niggas. Oh, you one of them niggas. You think you ain't going to pick, huh?
Yeah.
You think you could told me, roll right up me on them guns, told me get down on my hands and knees or they gonna shoot me. That's what I'm telling you. They got, you are a slave. They have the right to kill you if you pose a threat to leave in this structure. No, damn. This is jail.
So
I am a slave. If I run, they shoot me in the back.
How many times you thought of running?
Go ahead.
None.
I was gonna say, Cat, that remind me of the movie Life, the gun line, bro.
The gun line, yeah.
You cross that gun line, you're gonna get shot.
Yeah, that's it. Hit play, go back.
No, damn. This is jail.
So
I am a slave. If I run, they shoot me in the back.
So this is my takeaway, and this is why, once again, you talking to it. We're taking a Gen X perspective here. We're looking to try and see if we can make the world better, because there are some of the real common enemies out there. Now, maybe this person did that crime, and people say, yes, this is what they deserve. But you know what? There's a system that makes that crime exist, and this is why it's kind of shook. I'm even amazed that this stuff is coming out. That's why I'm saying fair use, right? So I don't see, when you hear what goes on, and we already know there's also racism in jail, it makes you wonder, how is it that like other hate groups are even able to still exist? One of them, as we know, the Klan is going to be hitting up 100 years. They're probably going to have some type of big festival coming on. But this is what we've seen go on with generations in about the mid 1980s. Soak it up. This has been since the so that's easily 40 years coming in that this has been going on. Just because he's saying it's happening now doesn't mean it didn't happen before, or it wasn't going on before, or even is not still happening as we speak, right? So this is a kid comes in the system, which happens to, and apparently out there, God bless you guys, as you say. You love to say, God bless, right? You're 17, you get a record. I believe that record is that beast. Everybody talks about that, or at least one of them. You get that mark, you're done, right? Because basically, you get into this, and as this young gentleman coming out and telling the truth, because everybody's on the code of not the uncool code of course no one snitches, right? And that that whole snitch thing, that's a very powerful thing, because that says it's industrious. So this is what they can get away with.
How many times you thought of running?
They call it cotton picking. Cotton picking. Something that happened 100 years ago, which I'll show you another fact in a few minutes.
None. Well, what you mean?
So let me, at any point,
he said, when did you try to run? He said, none. He didn't try to run.
He must didn't hear what he just said. Like, was you listening?
That's what I'm saying.
You're going to die.
Psychologically, your mind is no.
And trust me, I know there's been people that have been shot. There's no justification. You an inmate. You get shot in the back, it's over.
Hold on. You ain't got to go to jail to get shot in the back by yourself. Just imagine how much more. Right. That's what I'm saying. Our brothers is innocent out, ain't doing nothing out here getting shot in the back. Now imagine you in prison. Come on, y'all. Go back to the video. You a slave.
If I run, they shoot me in the back.
How many times you thought of running?
None. Well, what you mean?
So let me, at any point, did you feel like, man, if we all get in this together, we can overtake this shit?
That shit sound good,
right,
bro. That shit sound good. And I'm going to get to that, right? So to this point here, right, they made me get on the ground. One of them got off the horse. He got off the horse.
Oh, wait a second. One of them got off what? Give me Ecclesiastes 10, verse 6. Said one of them got off the horse. Y'all don't understand. Now, imagine this is our time now. So imagine those brothers that's in that prison Imagine what's happening to their mind. You think he's going to see himself as anything other than a slave? How do you think he's going to look at his brothers? How he going to look at his children? You took that.
And with that, inject, and this is the blessing I get in the bigger picture of being aware. This has happened in near over a quarter of a century, right? Easily, you think 25, and it's still on, right? So we know there's the bigger, what we call the beast, right? Because only a beast can make that shit go on. So I don't see these guys as a bad group at all, or a hate group. I think this is one of the best lessons, classes I had the chance of hearing within the last week, and I'll be sharing more. Let me just finish it. I believe it just was there's a little more. So, what's this?
The essence of a man, of him being a man from him. And it's going to get worse with what he's saying. So you dealing with trauma and you trying to, now let's say you're supposed to be rehabilitating him. You're making him worse. Matter of fact, you preparing him to come back. Because when he leave, his mindset ain't going to be on helping this family, building this community.
Unresolved trauma.
He was destroyed in there. You psychologically messed his mind up. If he see an Edomite, he probably like, let me just be quiet.
Yep.
You talking about trauma on another level, man. Read that.
Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 5. There is an evil which I have seen under the sun.
There is an evil which I have seen under the sun. Read.
As an error which proceeded from the ruler.
Folly. An error which proceeded from the ruler. Watch this. Read.
Folly is set in great dignity.
Folly is set in great dignity. And evil is set in great dignity. Esau is set in great dignity.
And the rich sit in low place.
That's us. We're the rich. Remember Revelations. We're the rich in spirit. We sit in low places. Read.
I have seen servants upon horses.
He have seen what?
Servants upon horses.
Esau on horses. They servants. That brother said he got off the horse and drew his gun. Servants upon horses. Read.
And princes walking as servants upon the
earth.
And
us picking the damn cotton. Damn. Picking the, where the bomb at, man? Picking the damn cotton. Go back to, he got a slingshot. Go back to the video, man. Yeah. Read. Play.
Good. And I'm going to get to that, right? So to this point here, right? They made me get on the ground.
And just before you digest this, because this is, don't only believe it happens to like 17. They probably got younger boys. That's why we call it buck breaking. So the interpretation here, even for the general audience, could be, as like he's saying, being beat down, but highly likely is also bucking. Not to say this chap here. I'm just saying it's known. Good Lord, they make music videos out of that, right? Am I correct? Well, we forgot about that. But I digress. So amplify what this gentleman is going to describe, parental guidance, and once again, this is fair use. It's just to make the point. Thus, this, once again, the mundane points in this post. For all of you folks out there, some of you are recovering ex-hateful people, and when we say hateful, you were ex-clanned up and all of this, or ex-bikered up, and you're like, you know what? Life is this world is one thing, and you've been all part of that worship thing, but you realize that, hey, you know what? It could be easier to step out of this world and at least try to compensate and make up with God, who created you, because God created all good and bad at the same time. And there are folks out there who will say, well, if God was so good, why would he make babies go through this and children and all of this? Well, God gave us free freaking choice. Maybe he shouldn't have. But for him, God to have done that, well, that would have been, away from the purpose. At least that's my takeaway. So at least when I hear what these brothers are saying over here, right? And they're not preaching, they're just telling you, it's written in the book that this is the stuff that's got to go down. And here's the thing: what I'm relearning, even rereading the Bible as it was written, like even with the Kingdom of Judah time, which is the lineage of Yeshua, as they call, as we say, as we know, in and with us through the light, right? The light being Yeshua and God, right? But anyway, I don't want to go there. I just want to say there are still people cotton picking, cotton picker, and they're getting beat down and probably worse. So imagine this is not only just in this one state, but this is not just nationwide. This is probably worldwide, like earth-wide. So how is it going to stop? When will it stop? Will it ever stop? Because that's the trauma, and this is why we have folks like brothers out there. We see some brothers who come out who are way into their years now, 70. They don't have anything. They're out in the street. They still, and it's like, wow, how does that even happen? Forget about that. It doesn't matter if you were born in the country or even served in the military. In some cases, all sometimes on the misdemeanor, but using the media. So the analogy here, once again, that the culture of what hip hop gave for the last, what they're saying, hey, congratulations of 50 years of niggerification and increasing the profits of a record industry. Forget about Nat King Cole. I was telling somebody, a millennial, like my generation ish, maybe 30 some, about Nat King Cole. Nobody knows who the frick Nat King. They're like, who? Oh, I think I heard of him. I was like, you notice, for me, I was like, those people, and they knocked him out a long time ago, right? And Natalie, his late daughter, right? Right? Remember Pink Cadillac? Was it Pink Cadillac? Yeah, Pink Cadillac. Yeah, up until the 80s, right? So we called it silky voices, swooning voices. You might as well say swarthy, but they did. So, all to make the point, we've come a long way, even from grace, since that appearance of class and at least respect for one another, because we were all fighting for the same thing, even back then. Don't think everybody was all good with Nat King Cole, but I digress.
One of them got off the horse. He got off the horse. If I made any moves, you get smoked. They get a free kill. They got notches on their shit from niggas they done killed.
Yeah.
They keeping the score. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Hold on, pause it.
That's crazy, right?
You heard what he just said?
That's crazy. That is crazy.
You talking about trauma?
Hey, Cap. There was another documentary or something. I think it was on Vice where the police officers as well. Remember we was talking about that?
When they lost their lives. Yeah.
When they kill somebody, they also keep score. Like the brother was saying, what they do is they take their this was in California. They take that star, the police badge thing, and they'll put a little bend in it.
In like the corner or something.
In like the corner or something. That's how they know that he's one of us. Ooh. So there's like actually little squads that be doing this. Within the,
it's not a coincidence,
right?
And how is it that even is created to be? That's not a mystery, but the actual point of what's going on in the world. They have to create all this shit. There's even something known as 50 blocks, right? Like, which is like a freaking new creative way, of course, life-saving, I would, in many cases, of defense. 50 blocks. That's a whole other thing. But it's so, imagine, so someone's got a big cache, and they got like the big warehouse, God knows where, at any part of this earth. As a lot of people are gambling on, let's say, Guantanamo Bay, maybe, right? Wherever they got it done. And it's still in the house, eh? Nobody ever thinks about that. Just like what happened to the guy from Libya there, Gaddafi. The video that they said, we came, we saw, we went, or whatever, right? Quote unquote, by HC. Not a coincidence. From the top, they could say, oh, well, let's sleep on it tonight. And hey, you know what? Guess what? Those little things, those animals made up a new code because I'm sure at the top, and it's so interweaved that even the establishment somehow profits from it. So I just want to show you this clip. This is before, once again, I get back to the minute and high recommendation of checking these, checking out what time it is with these brilliant gentlemen in what's highly needed in service. I was almost even thinking like the other day, okay, like even in like Christianity, back in the what was it, the 50s, with people like I grew up with the early times, like we used to call it Billy, not like just Billy Graham, but you had Oral Roberts. Remember them? And something good is going to happen to you. It was good. Now, I'm not saying it was all bad, but even some of those bros know what time it was then. But there was that big revival. Now, of the revivalism of what the 50s and that charismatic preaching, you know what? And it was loud too. So a lot of folks would say, well, you know what? It's there. The Israelites here are hard to hear because they yell all the time. Don't forget, your grandparents used to be Yodel-Hu. Wasn't all that heavy, like crazy American drop your head and it was more like dunk your head in the bucket of water and you come up and the guy goes off, right? And bam, bam, and that's it. That's it. People drank the water and they left. It was majority back then white folks. Boom. Hey, that's a whole other thing. But this is what the fervor and energy that these young, I would say, still young in the spirit prophets bring on the table. And how does this connect with what's happening in the world? Well, they're telling you from the book. This is the mad stuff that we all had to go through, right? And we're going to look into who started that. I want to take a quick look into why the judge throws out the lawsuit for reparations over the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre that came out July 9th, right? So today is the 11th. Look at that, right? Okay, I'm just reading. An Oklahoma judge threw out a lawsuit Friday that sought reparations for victims and descendants of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. So that was like, now it's 2023. It's 103 years. What, 102? Probably. And this was going on throughout the 20s, right? So that's nothing new. While they were making movies about the Keystone Cops, thwarting efforts by local advocates to seek justice for the attacks, 3 living survivors and Black Tulsa residents at large. So I'm not even gonna. Well, here's the thing. So I've been reading, and once again, I haven't been really. You just have to sit back and watch how things happen. This is the only thing I've been picking up, at least in the spiritual sense, and read not just the Bible, but read other books. There's a lot of rich history that is um, or folks of a higher power are trying to like make dissipate the whole thing. And so yeah, I'm also learning that with the Israelite camps here. So just quickly, I'm not going to get into reading it, but they argued they, right? Tulsa County District Court Judge Carolyn Wall dismissed the case in a written order after reviewing complaints from the city, the Regional Chamber of Commerce, and other local agencies. They argued the plaintiff's request to compensate residents for the destruction of a prominent Black neighborhood would impose a significant burden on the government's financial stability. So, yeah, originally filed in 20, which is about what they said it was 1921. Now it's like barely 99, to 100 years. So the damage. But the long story is, go look up what happened. But this is, look at that. Smoke billows in Tulsa. So this is what happened. Why? Long story short, I guess people were not cool about it. That this was a bustling area. This is where we were, Black Wall Street, people thriving. What could have happened, and still today can happen, is happening in maybe a different continent. But look what you guys still have. And I'm talking in the good old United States of America. I'm like, wow. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. It must be tough to be an Afro American out there. Not like it's any better anywhere else, eh? I digress. But look at the history, you guys. Like, what? Look at this. Up until 1985, what they did in Philadelphia, and that's a whole other thing. Look that up, right? With the John Africa. So what happened in 1921 was a really bad deal, and all those people did not. Yeah, now that was 100 years ago. Tucker told. Wow, eh? So 75 years, by maybe 30, 70, 80 years, which may be 20 years later, right? Literally, Some folks got a better deal. You dig? So argued that Wall's dismissal backpedaled on the previous, and this is how I read a lot of it, because at the end of the day, when they hate you and they ain't about you, right? They're just explaining, over explaining, right? Inexplicably, nearly 1 year after the defendants filed another round of duplicate. Look at that. And all based on time. Meanwhile, those, like I was saying, who are probably in those same years as those people who were probably born on the 100th year anniversary, not too long, right? They ain't gonna change their mind still. Bynum said at the time, not Biden, but Bynum, this is the mayor, G.T. Bynum. Almost sounds like Barnum and Bailey, but Republican, told the Post he's not yet received the opinion and full order in the case, but was aware of the decision. The city remains committed to finding the graves of 1921, so that would be like for most of Generation X, a grandparent ago, Tulsa race massacre victims, fostering, yeah, yeah. You know what? The worst event, he says, building a city, opportunity for great life. Apologizing. Well, at least they got yeah, okay. So that's pretty much the gist of that, right? So people say, well, why are we so broke? Well, let's see. I'll show you another example, and this is once again the date. Exploring the Clotilda, the last known slave ship in the U.S., brings hope. Hope for what? I wonder. I'm not gonna play this, but just to get you guys up on the date. Juneteenth. So this what happened recently, and this was last year. This is why they celebrate Juneteenth. The descendants of Polly and Rose Allen, who were among more than 100 kidnapped Africans, a wealthy Alabama plantation owner smuggled into Mobile. Yes, aboard the Clotilda 50 years after the Atlantic slave trade was abolished, and then sunk the ship to bury evidence of the crime. So evidence was found of this ship, and so they never made it. And interesting article, and there are books that are out there. Journalist Ben Raines discovered the Clotilda in Mobile River in 2019. So the story with this is this was one of the last slave ships to enter America. I'll show you another article. Let's get it from AP. These guys don't play. So AP says, new museum in Alabama tells history of last known slave ship to the U.S. and its survivors. So this is traffic passes mural along. It's always a freaking mural. Like, let's draw a picture. There should be like money of that. But anyway, yeah, let's remember who might have survived. The irony. File traffic passes a mural along Africatown Boulevard. They even have an Africatown. I didn't know that. May in this 2019. So what? It tells the story that brought. Okay, so if it does that, don't you think some of these people who are still survivors on? Yeah, forget about that. I'm sorry to tell you guys, Rafi is gonna say you don't gonna get that money, right? I don't even know why that. The more you go, I think the lawyers will probably make more money than anything. But anyway, I mean, really, will it ever happen? That would mean there's peace, right? I don't think everybody's gonna follow that menu. That's just only. I mean, why is it taking so long? We just saw that they just blew off, right? 200-year-old elderly, yeah, whatever. They don't care. They said, we ain't gonna give you that, right? We ain't gonna give you that. No, 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 no. See, Bob. And the fact, if you look into the history, why this shit happened and how it happened, right? So all of that, once again, to bring you back to what I just wanted to show you, which, oh, and you know what? Let's go even deeper. Look at this guy. So what's this ship all about? Because just to back up, Timothy Maya. I'm going to pronounce it like that. And I like to go into who the mama, right? Always know who the son is and who the wife is, this and that. Timothy Mayer, 1812. to what? No, okay, no, okay. So he might have been an orphan for all we know, even though they say March 1892 was the son of an Irish immigrant father and an Anglo-Irish American mother. So this is generations probably removed from after the was it the like that whole age of enlightenment, where the swarthy were, yeah, they were starting to, and thus, right. And it's not to say, once again, this is Esau. Esau, from what I've interpreted, what I really under what the Bible says, is not the people in the flesh, because there's good people out there. However, I was telling someone the other day, I said, why don't you, okay, you want to do something about it? Tell you what, go after the real hate groups that still exist, that do, or like what a brother. I don't know what's going on with that case. That's why I'm like, you know what? There's some moot points out there, right? That unfortunate young brother went to work way out in what we used to call in the movie uh, with Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger, if I'm correct, right? Heat of the night. Like what the, cutting, sawing off the kids. Like what? That's going on today. That's a reality check. But you know what? That was like a few months or what was it, last year? Until the next, I don't know. How is it a freaking dare camera gets and you still can't, like, that is like, if that don't tell you anything, and people would say, well, we're not done yet. Let's check this bro out. So he was raised in rural Whitefield, Maine. In his 20s, he moved to Mobile, Alabama. Was where he became a wealthy human trafficker. So this is interesting because now, okay, so we hear about all these trafficking people. So wait a minute. If that's going on, can we agree that some type of slavery is still going on today? And that's a trade thing. And once again, it's like maybe not even blaming the people who work for the trade and down the line, but at the top, there's got to be something more, or some force that says, well, if it doesn't matter if it's like a couple of what, they weren't dolls, I thought they were, right? What? Oh, I didn't know that they needed that many diapers. Something off the chain. But this guy, right, was able to pull that. So and shout out, I guess, if there's a shout out. Here's my take on the Mel G, and uh, I'm gonna, because and respect. I saw the what do you call that film there? The prize film that Mr. Cazavel did, right? And I'm like, okay, that was then. This was when it came. I was going through a lot anyway. Great film, great made. But now that this truth is coming up, I really want to know what they think about that, because I know they're gonna come up with the what do you call it? The second coming. Literally, yeah. They've been putting the. I don't know if you caught that, but I caught that. They're like, well, we're gonna do the sequel, where Jesus comes back. So they started shooting. They're shooting this now, and then there's supposed to be a third one, which is an interdimensional one, right? So, hey, shout out. I don't know. And then you have that other show called Chosen, which is going off the hook from what I heard, right? No, meanwhile, the show's still like what, number one. Everybody forgot, right? Don't get, and of course, like I like to say, here, let me throw a curveball at you, because this is the show of the mundane. The one, what happened to the one there that did the Bud Light? I forget her name, or she said she was her, right? I thought she resembled um, that girl Audrey Hepburn, right? But anyway, I forgot her name, but I digress. Audrey Hepburn resembled that Bud Light girl. But going back to what I was saying here, so this is where he became a wealthy human trafficker, and he built the slave ship Clotilda, the last known U.S. slave ship to bring captives from Africa to the United States, arriving at Mobile Bay in autumn of 1859, or maybe possibly July 1960. No, I mean 1860. Pardon me. Could be with 110, count them, African men, women, and children. There's your case right there. But let's go back to this Negro here. I saw something. Okay, so it's really, so this is where the shit started. Let's say, okay, maybe not his family if they're still around, but we're just saying, like, was well, yeah, the last enslaved Africans until the 18, might as well say 9, and it became what we call immigration, right? Yeah. So the illegal purchasing of transporting of slaves was made as a bet to see if Mayer could avoid the 1807 Act prohibition importation of slaves. So it's an 1807 federal law that provided that no new slaves were permitted to be imported into the United States. So no more new ones. They take away from that. No more. It took effect January 1st, 1808, right? So no more. But he reportedly described the bet as $1,000 that inside 2 years I myself can bring a ship full of niggers right into Mobile Bay under the officers' noses. Quote unquote. Dreams of Africa in Alabama. The Slave Ship Clotilda and the Story of the Last. Okay, so you can look up by Sylvain Diouf. So there's just like 1892. That's nothing. It's like 2020. So Mayer had his captain William Foster, 1825-1901, burn and scuttle. Right, its crew. The ship is like okay. So a ship when it's scuttled, when its crew deliberately sinks it, typically by deliberately opening holes in its hull. All right, so Clotilda accepting yeah. The slaves were freed, so we were told, but Timothy Mayer refused to help them return home or provide. You know what? There was a minute, right? All throughout the end of the 19th century, up until Marcus Garvey, which we know was an agent because everybody. But like, look, not to, who can be, even after all of this, who's gonna have any power unless you were probably native of the land already? That's another thing, right? That's what I'm learning. However, while that happened, taking everything with some discernment, as we say, the slaves were freed, but he refused to help them return home at least or provide reparations. You ever feel some days when you go to a store and people are watching you buy something and you're like, man, can we ever call asylum or maybe like do some type of, for that? Like, hey, I don't know, they're saying Africa's the spot to go. God only knows. So let's see. So refused to do that, but he sold them some land where they created the slave colony of Africa Town. I didn't know that. Right? Also known as Africa Town, USA, and Plateau. Plateau is a historic community located 3 miles north. Hey, fuck, I didn't know this. I'm learning, eh? It was formed by a group of 32 West Africans who, in 1960s, were bought and sold. Oh, okay, hold on. So they were freed. The United States government attempted to charge them, but of course, due to factors such as what difficulty providing the crime or proving the crime, and you might as well say providing the crime, but proving the crime and the Civil War, right, which happened right in between. Look at patterns. He was never pursued, of course, because the war happened, and it was all about them niggers anyway. You might as well like catch a break. Here, have one on me. So, however, in the 1890s, 2 years before his death, he always bragged in the newspaper about his slave. He bragged. So, brother's good. I guess he go where he's at now for his first. That was his first. Let's see what happens with the second death. Stay tuned. If we can call that. No, we can't. Only God can. As well. Like, how do you? Yeah, and this is the thing with what I've learned with sin. I learned some two amazing things. I learned that even like okay, if you refuse to say, hey, you know what, you didn't like, where are they now, right? Where are they now? We don't know. But if there's a second, let's see what Clotilde. Okay, so misspelled Clotilde. See, often misspelled as Clotilde, was the last known slave ship with 110. So look, you can't even find a link because this is what I was looking for. Who are they? What? Wait, what? Hold on. For descendants and extraordinary. So maybe look up this book. So that's why, once again, let's see. If you ever want to go out, say this is how you could search stuff. As I'm learning about like what how the internet can be. Let's see. Nothing amazing here. Okay. All right, just before we wrap up for the first part of the day, thank you for tuning in. Once again, this is like uh, how we say internet free vestibule because we used to have a radio back in the day. We can't play music. Well, I had some music. Probably there'll be some background beats low in this, but let's continue. So this is what happened. We're not going to go on. After Civil War, Wali Kasola. So that's Cujo Gazula Lewis, born Wali Kasola, and also known as Cujo Lewis, was the third to last adult survivor. Think about that. Adult survivor. So no kids, no women, as far as we know. Well, I mean, survivor of the Atlantic slave trade between Africa and the United States. So this is apparently one and 31 other forms. So he's probably the closest and only, as we can understand, folks, real Africans. So they were joined by other continental Africans and formed a community that continued to practice many of the West African traditions. And Yoruba is the language, right? For decades. Lived until 1935. It was one of the last, so probably from a child. Where she, okay, so was sold to a planter where she, oh wait, hold on. Lived on, one of the last survivors from the Kotida, Rhodesia. Oh, Rhodesia here was the West African woman who was enslaved and smuggled, of course, kidnapped. What do you call it? Human trafficking. They should start calling it that. That's what it was. Enslaved and smuggled, human trafficked. But you know what? Watch this. So, as a girl in the 1860s, so like think of the 1960s, right? 1860s. Only a late, only what? Only a later surviving claimant, Matilda McRae, was out there. So there are a few, and of course, this person lived until 1940. But all of that to say, carrying this cargo, um, I did even a little deeper research, but I'll just, before we move on, once again, thank you for tuning. Mayer had learned that West African tribe, now this is heavy, and thus, like in the beginning of the post, I said I still want to come back to the Scythians, but just before, I wanted to give you a little, while before this was going on. Okay, so we know the ship and the crime, right? Mayer had learned that West African, so this is all here, Kingdom of Judah, if I'm, I can check back somewhere here. West Africa or Western Africa, westernmost regions. So you have Benin, I believe that's it, Benin, Burkina Faso, Cape Verde, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, right? Tribes were at war, and that the king of Dahomey, now Benin, so that was the African kingdom, southern port of present-day Benin, which lasted from 1600 until 1900, when the French third abolished. All right, and Benin was willing to sell enemy prisoners as slaves. Right, forces had been raiding communities. So the tribes at war. Who were these tribes, and how did the tribes even have of course, the arms to make the war? But the forces had been raging communities in the interior, bringing captives to the large slave market at the port of Wada. And that, of course, they had weapons to do that. This could explain a lot of those folks out there who are like, "Oh, what about black slave, all this slave owners, all this?" Well, it was either that or take or bite, whatever was the gunpowder or arm of what the powers, the horns, the people with one of the horns, the Babylon, they can do that. So that's how they infiltrated and broke that kingdom. Mayor was said to have way, even if it was in tribe shit, they're allowed to probably, but the big man, Daddy Longlegs, they said, no, no, no. Mayor was said to have waged another wealthy gentleman from New Orleans that could successfully smuggle Africans into, probably a borough until this act came up. So, says a lot, eh? Mobile 12 of crew of 12, he probably thought he was Jesus with his apostles, right? There could be some of that there because they were calling them ships, the good ship Jesus, all this craziness, right? So outfitted to carry, probably updated it in which 108. So anyway, look it up because we can't talk about all of this, right? We can go on and on and on. And look at this. They got all the stories here. So if you look deeper about what this story is and where they had to go, once again, to make this happen, this is all Nigeria. This is where a lot of folks are making money now. So I want to take a quick look at the first king. Multiple list kings of Dahomey built together. Different points. Just just whoop! I knew it. You see, this is why sometimes you have to go and like double check who's your mama. Well. No picture of him except I don't know. I'm not gonna read through it. Founder Kingdom, but who's this bro? Ujbada or Wegbaja or Aho was a king in the kingdom of Dahomey in present-day Benin from 1645 until 1685. Ujbaja followed his father Dahudunu to the throne. Ooh, this is deep. Look, let's go back. Oh, we're going up. All the way up to. Look, lineage is still there. So that's some history for all you guys to check out. But and that if you want to know about the tribes, that's probably part of the solution that we're going to need to, if we have to say, make peace in this world. But I'm going to let this brother finish and tell his story. So the museum exists to tell the story about this ship. Go check it out, I guess. Right? Evil and unforgettable, we could say. But nobody's going to do anything about it. So once again, are those folks ready to, let's say, if it had to be, because we know those people, they're all armed up to go against those people, the people who are, of course, it's not such a bad thing. We're not saying superiority once again. It's about the belief of knowing that we are related to the light. However, as the light was created, we have that choice. And a lot of freedom of choice chooses not the light but the dark. And that's just part of it. And because the dark has to exist, right? And even though we find out the truth well in due time, and you still come back and say, oh, well, you know what? It's a long time ago, right? And it's how many? 1921. Judge throws out lawsuit for reparations over 1921 Tulsa race massacre. You guys really feel you want to fight for something? While all under the same throne, the same system, what is the Great War of Babylon? And hey, it's happening apparently real time. So yeah, I gave these guys a shout out because they really told me some amazing. I've learned some amazing things so far. It's what helped get me through even with the pandemic. To be honest with you, because what were you gonna do? It was the end of the world for a lot of folks, even me. After we put in all that energy and served our countries, and then whoops, we didn't mean that. So this is part. Yeah, take a look at some of the articles here. That's just before we wrap up this part. And these are some of the books that are highly recommended to take a look. And I'll throw in a couple of stories there. And that's why there's not much to tell you. That's why I haven't been one. I post. I'll post. And once again, the powers that be, of course, they're going to be like, well, let's like squeeze the throttle. And I don't care about getting the million or the likable or let me say the influencer. The job here is just to let you know the information that at least while it's still there can be out. It's for you to grow and have faith in God because hey, I believe in a God, Yahweh, and that's it. So meanwhile, while that's going, look at this. Oh yeah, I pulled up on this because this is the sheriff, so the architect, right? All right. So a paper illustrates how laws presented to Moses have been codified in Canadian law. So this is a very good article to check out. And look. Meanwhile, in good old USA, right? This is the public law of 102 minus 14 HJ Res 104. Okay, what's that? Let's see. Uh, we don't have a saved version. I'm just checking up, doesn't come up. So I'll have to re-edit that. Is it this one? Let's see. No, that's just an image. But there was some, yeah. So let's take a look here. So this is, of course, brought to you by, as I'll show you. You could either join to free for ResearchGate, which I've been doing, and also brought to you by, which is what I've been using, the Open Library and Internet Archive. Yes, you can, chip in what you can, once again. And this is a great place to get those books. This is one of them I've been managing to want to read, but you can actually get them if you sign up, right? Apart from that, you can, if you are into archiving yourself, because the folks are like, well, what about what do you call it, AI? Don't lose your nuts over AI. Go back in the 100 years and see how um, history repeats itself, right? And it always keeps showing you and showing you. And eventually we can make some differences, but we just wrap this up. Gotta be willing. So I just wanted to show. So before we get back to this, bust this. 10 Commandments as codified in Canadian law. So you could download the citation, but you could probably check it out. This is back in 2000, and of course, this is all for educational purposes. But it's always, once again, it's good to see. You can go to ResearchGate, and this is the doctor here of oily checkology, and I thought it was very interesting because you can, check out the PDF if you want to research. This once again, just to research. The Ten Commandments as codified in modern Canadian law. The Ten Commandments were given by Moses, and this is by the Medway-ish Council. This is back in 2007. So the Ten Commandments were given by God to Moses. When Moses brought the tablets down from Mount Sinai, he hailed his brethren with a sign of supplication, or hailing sign as used by fellow crafts as a signal for them to attend to what he was about to deliver, as a pledge of his sincerity and truth. And God spake these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. These words and the following commandments are familiar to all Christians and Jews as well as many others. So I just want, and of course you have the laws here. So thou shalt not have gods before me. Uh, I could blow it up, but you know what? I'm just gonna give you the look at it. And this is, of course, by the Grand Council of Allied Masonic Degrees of Canada. So this is good to know because I like history like that. A lot of folks think Canada don't play. Everybody's like, oh, Canada, Canada, we're all about maple fucking syrup and whatever, hockey. Nah, man, you're deep now. And I'm proud Canadian of it. But however, things are a little dicey these days. It's good to know. That's why, you either get it. It's not about being the influencer to tell millions, but you get what we call the secret 13 or the dedicated 3, right? So, okay, so all the laws. So this is like almost like the Israelites, these guys, in a weird, but they're probably on a different tip, but a twist. But just to show, even those people, those folks know. Maybe even the people in the highest powers, they know what time it is. They probably believe in the Bible more, and they know more about what the truth is, and they work and say, well, we gotta fulfill it. We have no choice. We wish this. We wanted this since we were kids for the abuse we got, right? And they twisted it up and they cut us up, and right. That's the therapy shit. So thou shalt not make any graven image. Look at these guys. Or okay, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. It's kind of oxymoron, but or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Don't bow down, don't serve them. I'm jealous of God. These guys are trying to keep on tip. Don't take the Lord in vain. I like that. Remember the Sabbath. Look, they even busting that on you. Honor your father. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery, steal, bear false witness. So, I think this is a good article to read because, once again, the writer here used what is termed legal fiction and or deeming provisions. But yeah, it's a nicer insight. And if you really want to bro up, because of course this is the show of the mundane. The bro never goes there, right? Yeah, right. You're supposed to be, bucked out. I'm gonna show you before we wrap this up what means being bucked out. What's this? So, Evidence Act RSC 1985, right? limited. So thou shalt not have other gods. So believe in a single supreme. So this is true. We have that belief in Canada, right? And every court and judge and every person having by law or consent of parties authority to hear and receive evidence has power to administer an oath to every witness who is legally called to give evidence not before a court judge person, right? Or a person called or desiring to give evidence objects on the grounds of conscientious scruples. I like that. Nice one. Or take an oath is objected to as incompetent to take an oath. That person may make the following affirmation. And it's like affirmation that the evidence to be given by them be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So I solemnly affirmation, I solemnly affirmation that the evidence to be given by me shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. In all cases, as a Quaker, I use what? A Quaker. I use the affirmation above rather than the usual oath. But it's a very, the Bank of Canada. What? Wow. But it's because people talk about, and hey, kudos. This is why you shouldn't be afraid to look up and research, because this stuff radiates, and as the word is, gets upgraded and it becomes codified. And another word is becomes the decree. They changed the decree, as we say. Yeah. So the Dominion of Canada. Everybody, post Canada Day. I know it was really chill. A lot of us made it from 1621 with the establishment of a British settlement in Nova Scotia. The British Union flag was used when Canada underwent Confederation in 1867, becoming the Dominion of Canada. The 3 British colonies in Canada became 4 Canadian provinces. At this time, the need arose for a distinctive Canadian flag. The flag of the Governor-General of Canada was used, a Union flag with a shield in the center, which bore the arms of each of the provinces surrounded by a maple leaf wreath. So there's a little something for, because once again, you got to be into the history. You got to know what time it is. It's good to know myself being a proud expat of Montreal, but I'm still Canadian, even though I like to visit the motherland, and let's see how the ship blows over and then come back to your homeland. You dig it? Because now you have 2 homelands. But this is it. We'll see how that goes. Montreal Maisonneuve Monument. Look at that. Coronation, 1911. From another brother, right? By then, this was going on. So everybody's all like, "Oh, that's in Canada." You don't know nothing. You got to come and see what's happening here, instead of sometimes even what America tells you, right? Because America's been telling us our history for a minute. So we covered that. Other books that you might want to check out, they're written by the folks themselves. And once again, some of these are downloadable. Or you could just take a look. Professor H. Greitz, and there's 2 different books. So this one is written by one writer, and this, of course, covers the earliest periods, the original inhabitants of Canaan, gigantic Anakim, and Rifrium, and the Phoenicians, and so forth. So very sweet if you can digest. And see, this is the type of stuff that, once again, it's for the thugs out there who don't want to learn, or who want to learn to read, who don't want to just jones out, get high all the time. You want to say, well, you think you got problems? Check this out. But this is one version, right? War Against the Weak, the Eugenics and America's campaign to create a master race. Edwin Black. Like, you're not supposed to see that shit, right? A lot of folks will be like, well, it's not that, like, well, no, hold on. You got to see that. Let's see. What does this link give you? Once again, thank you for tuning into the date. Okay, let's see. So once again, you can go on Google Books, and they are sweet also. They can actually hook you up with some of the, some good stuff. And I have a good bookshelf. So this is some of the what we call reviews. So Most Chilling War Against the Weak is filled with the tale of arrogance after tale of arrogance, tale after tale of arrogance, ignorance, and cruelty accounts that Black wisely allows eugenicists to relate in their own words, perhaps the most chilling, though, were the ways in which American eugenicists influenced their German counterparts. So, hell, hair raiser sensational. So, let's see what we got here. So, the title page, right? So, these are some of the folks that are giving you the right dedication. Part one, first risk betterment banquet. So, when they do things in secret, yeah, this is like part of the rules, I guess. They got to meet up. But this was all how they were doing it. Look at this 1914 Race Betterment Conference banquet held in Battle Creek, Michigan in 1914. What? And then they had what? Black Wall Street. You see? Okay. You've got no friends and you keep fighting with people you think, oh, they're going to give us no. But, see? They did it even to their own people. Look, see, his mother was unable to read this book, but never forgot when American principles of eugenics came to Nazi-occupied Poland. So, you see, they're telling you, like, yo, they were trying to light up stuff and whatever they did, and twins, especially the twins, and they were probably twisting people up then, because that was like a you call Molech type of thing, right? So this is once again, I'm just gonna breeze through it because it is a lot to digest. But you can, when folks and say, "Oh well, it's hard to get this information," get it now because even then, what the understanding is that this stuff won't be around much, and they're trying to say. And here's the thing with AI. That's why I'm not too like, you haven't seen a flying saucer, pull up, and if they pull up and say, "Oh, there's aliens and all that," once again, if it's tangible, fine, but the mind has been hacked. Look at this, right? So they go back with the story here of Oliver Twist, yeah, the poor child, overcrowded slums, and in those years, a lot of that shit was going on, eh? And of course they had the what we call the orphan trade, the orphan trains. In 1582, compulsory law taxes were assessed to, the deranged, disease, and it's always about that. Indistinct pauper classes had emerged. These people were perceived by the establishment as both arrogant lot, who assumed an inherited right to believe as seething candidates for riot and revolution. And this goes in England, right? Having the revolution among themselves, probably because of the Black Plague. But this is stuff, and once again, you want to check out, this is one of your links. Papers of the American Slave Trade. Yes, this is really sweet, actually. I'm not going to go through it all, but this gives you, let's see if we can zoom in here, the maps. So if you really want to see the maps of, and also the financial economic accounts, because a lot of folks think, like a lot of these folks, like here, these places didn't do any type of deep accounting. And no, don't be fooled with that. I'm just scrolling quickly because I know look, see, box folders. This is like how they kept records, and even then, some. So when folks say there was no economic value, and you got to chart it out in lands and all this stuff, you could down that up, right? Historical events, same thing. The legacy of it. Another hot item, another one of the top 10 uh, books that I highly recommend. It's hard to get also, is Human Consumption and Homoeroticism Within U.S. Slave Culture by Vincent Woodard. The Delectable Negro. The Delectable Negro. So this book is basically about how even beyond, back in the day they used to say, oh, the jigaboo and the Negro and the bushes and we're the cannibals. So we know that probably that's off, and maybe somewhere down the line that was switched because of the Bushmen. That's a whole other ball game because we know the Bushmen were also doing the very same cannibalistic, molecular, as I like to say, like molecular, right? Molecular, match the words together or not, like John Dee when they were playing with viruses and saying we made magic, and then thus created all this madness today. Like we have with the sciences. Look up John Dee, but everything with a twist. So we always hear about the cannibal. So this book basically tells you, I guess, from a real Bushman perspective, considering who we know are the Bushmen, but they say it's the jungles of Africa, that this type of eating and etiquette, along with what they were doing along to the brothers, along with bucking and castration and all of the, people were boiling people up. And of course, as you see in some of the images here, right, delectable interest in this Bornu man. The terrors and observations of the other enslaved African persons erupt into whispered rumors. The white man has taken Ali and put him into the house in order to slaughter him. Inside the house, Ali imagines his seducer wielding a phallic object, a long knife. Right? So, well, probably, like, once again, I'm probably going to do another clip just to read some excerpts from this book because I was like, whoo, right? A Tale of Hunger Retold. Frederick Douglass describes slavery more eloquently than anyone else has as a cannibalistic institution. So I'm not even gonna go so like once again. We're just gonna be a preview. I'll probably do a little because it was such good reading, right? As I read that, I was like, holy! I was like, woo! But it's one of those books that are shocking and you're not supposed to read. Once again, bust it. I'm gonna come back to it. The Delectable Negro. So you see where we're going. Yeah, let's bust this place up. Let's see. Because I know this is why we have a sort of this news. How we say news blog. Let's see what this is all about here. To show you what time it is. So, this is what's happening. Lucifer alter ideas, herbalism, holidays, spells, principles, and moon magic. Once again, this is all fair use. I'm just out there showing what's going on in the world. So if you're ever feeling kind of devilish, definitely go by and check out these guys. Right? No, I'm just saying. It may contain affiliate. So here, their worship is becoming more popular, and many folks are setting up a light altar to honor those people. He is not one of those simple nature spirits. Working with this god can be complicated and dark at times. This article will provide you with ideas on how to set up your own altar. So I'm not going to read the rest. I'm just going to be like, this is what's going down. And so this is why I personally say I can do that too, but I want to do it with a different twist, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna read that. I just I'm just showing you. Hey, once again, this is brought to you by the devil himself, right? But there's a whole key takeaways and let me see here. Images, no images. Look. So when you're busy, look at that. Wow, eh? It says a lot about the politics. Woohoo! Oh, wait. Okay, here are some. No. But, okay, because I'm using this as the context here, okay? This is the context. Let's not lose the focus here. But if you have make sure you have, offerings, right? Best offerings. Now, take heed to what they're saying here. Because even that's like in the verse, even Wisdom of Solomon, and watch what you're playing with here, right? Because even sorcerers, none of this shit. Yes, some spiritual gifts, that's another ball game. But this is like more like what we can call, even as it is illusionary, the sciences. Once again, going back to the freaks, like thank them for the medicine, God, and the Medicis, but like, they were freaks, right? But God, hey, you could have done better. And so let's see, like meditation, because I know meditation was a big thing, especially in it was always there. In the 60s, it picked up more, and then, even in recovery, meditation is good. But what you meditate on is another thing. So that, along with New Age, happened, right? In the 90s and all that. Like yoga, right? We're learning that while it is good, anything where you kind of jaunting spirit, even martial arts, right? To a certain and fighting, right? These things actually, it's a spirit. You want to go and like while it's good, and you want to beat and box the nuts out of somebody who maybe is not the same bone structure as you. Yeah, that's you know. Anyway, so here are some holiday ideas. Meditation, your personal success, because it's all about you. Don't ever forget that. Shadow work, offerings of sacred plants. Yeah, maybe the holly, right? Rebellious acts, long live, rah, rah, activism. This is where I started laughing. I was like, wow, that's straight up in your face. They're telling you this is what you do. So, what is this? Practice of sin? I don't know. I'm just reading. Spending time learning, yes, because what you learn, depending who you're learning it from, whether it be doctor or king, right? Yeah, dark wine. Dark wines, I didn't know that. Jesus drank wine. So why does it have to be dark? Dark candles, roses, petals, a well-lived life of full pleasure. Full. Yes, in the flesh. Forget people. Don't be a people. Well, there's some. Once again, they read the Bible and they take things and my things, my thoughts are maybe God saying, hey, this might, there is truth to it, but there's kind of price to pay if you take it like that, right? Ongoing effort to better. See, that's not a negative thing. So there are the positives, but what do I see the antagonistic or negative? Look, living a full life of pleasure. So what's your pleasure? Oh, right? And rebellious acts. Activism. So this is an interesting thing with activism because it does have some. It does make significant truth. Look with the Black Lives and the what do they call it? Antifa. Like how the fuck did that? That's not the '60s. Makes you think. Maybe the '60s was maybe the Black Panthers. Maybe the feminist movement. Steinem, right? We know. It says a lot about the party, though, right? Look, this chick. So shadow work, rebel. I like that shadow work. Get busy. Get your spells ready. Bust like rhymes, like rap rhymes, right? For 30 years, telling you to hate yourself like a rhyme. Dark one, okay. Learning, yeah, because what we learn and builds our belief. So key takeaways, yeah, be positive. Talk with the light, but it's because he is the angel of the light, right? That's what so you see, even they're trying to twist that, but where did the light come from? It's only one God, right? So and that was his son Christ. But they're trying to say, well, the Lucy too. But make sure you're honest. Yeah, be honest with yourself. So when you pay if you have to meet your maker, be honest with yourself because you're gonna relive everything that That's part of the thing with life. That first one when they say you relive it, so you have to relive along with the harm of the people you've done, right? So you're gonna relive their harm. More focused, yeah. Let this take away because you know what, God can and does give you everything, but don't get caught up in trying to please. Like, don't get too caught up. I like that. I like that. Don't get all up in there because if you do, you end up like Charles Manson. Remember that Lucy ain't always going to give you everything you ask for. They're going to be price to pay. Sometimes he surprise you. Well, and it does include horoscope, okay? But I know some of us will still read, or I would probably take a. It's like divine what? I just saw something. Black. I like black. See, I don't know. Deep dark purples too. So that's here. Once again, thank you for tuning in. This is July 11th. It's now 3 p.m. 2023. Look at this. This is great for your bedroom poster, right? This was a movie. I highly recommend you could check it out if you can find it. But this is when devil worshipping has changed them into Satan's children, right? I wonder what they do now. Where are they now? But this was a movie that happened, of course, as usual, way back, most likely in the 19 weird 70s, right? Because the 70s was always The 70s was like up until even I would say honestly, 1975 was like sketch, and then the Olympics happened 76, and yeah, it was more like okay, the disco thing evolved, and then it was a piece-ish bubblegum love 77, 8, 9, 10. But all that to say, 75 I think is a double year too, you know. But like Bobby is given shelter by a cult of folks, but his presence and questionable what sexuality leads to conflicts within the what? No way. So hey, this is bad. Guess what? Where are they now? Oh, let's see. This one's around. Like where are they now? Nobody's there. I know this guy. I think it was Barney. No? Anyway, but other shows. So this is that's cool. I drink your blood. Don't open till Christmas. So, yeah, I know this one. Starring KJ. Yeah. Cheryl Ladd. Yeah, that's it. See, so it's okay, right? That's not like it's been around for a minute. All of that to say. So this film, let's see here. We got any fair use, right? Look, I like how they line up more to explore. This guy, or this guy, or this guy. So these are that's OG, right? And of course, the 70s was tacky, but I'm sure this must be a great script to take a read and somehow uh, learn to where we are now, right? Because when you're talking about prophecy, well, all of this is part of it, right? And a lot of those folks, uh, a lot of folks work with, they make decisions based on that. Let's just say so, like the seven laws of Noah, right? You have the Noahism. Oh, look, Noahidism is a monotheistic religious movement aimed at non-Israelites based upon the seven laws of Noah and their traditional interpretations within um, the Orthodox. So I interested. So the rainbow is the unofficial symbol of Noahidism, recalling the Genesis flood narrative, in which a rainbow falls, yes, after the flood, so we didn't do dumb shit again. So seven as traditionally enumerated in the Babylonian Talmud, right? That's the text of the rabbinic source, primary source of the laws. So which becomes the converted, right? This is the converted version. Not to worship idols. Good. Not to ever curse God. Straight up. Do not do this bullshit, murdering. Assault, a sexual immorality. Hmm. Don't steal. Don't eat people. Right? Even here they say living animal, meaning it shouldn't be alive. Right? And thou shalt what? Wait a minute. To establish. It doesn't say thou shalt not, not. It just says to establish courts of justice. With a twist. Right? So the narrative here, and of course, once again, it's the Book of Jubilees, and has it been twisted? Has it been switched up? I'll leave that for you folks out there to read up on, because I'm sure that if there's something to do a post on, or even do a class on, is to learn about that. Though with that and how like of all things, a rainbow. So there's the other books, great summer books as we're wrapping up here. This is another updated and revised version of what the previous book we did see. And so, yeah, it's once again for educational purposes. Merchant networks in the British intercolonial slave trade in the 18th century. That's what this is. So this is once again a bit of mundane, but this is one of those documents. Once again, you can download and read what the folks were saying and feeling at the time, right? But it's just to kind of get a feel. And once again, this is just for general educational purposes. All right. So this is one book that's been coming up. I found this. I haven't had the chance to really get into the full reading of it, but I really feel it's something to definitely take a look at because yeah, why wouldn't you want to, I mean, and people and the folks are going, well, it's not, look, you know who wrote it. They are the folks that are telling you what, hey, this is what we know. It's not bad. They used to burn books like this, I think, at one time, but thank God we have more literate society. So I just let's take a quick buzz over here. So this guy, Arthur Koestler, states that the right of the state to exist is not based on the origins of the people as being such Israel, nor on the covenant of Abraham with God, right? Because that should be what it is. Rather, it's based on international law, and that's because of 1947. And of course, the folks or the synagogue had not possessed the land according to biblical requirements surrounding Zion. So the state was founded upon a systematic program of violence, deceit, murder, and war instigated by some groups. And this fact alone should dismiss the idea that they are Israel coming to Zion. Right? Modus operandi of other groups and other power structures and how they are not the ways of the true people, but of Edom. Whoa. So they're saying other groups' world program has used political upheavals and financial power to obtain its objectives, right? But this guy, who's like a leader in the superpower structure. So this was good. Why, when there were the Jews, the ones destined, because I'll read it as is, to occupy the ancient lands of God's people, Israel, because it was so written in God's script, they're actually following the role of Edom, who was to gain possession of this area. Oh my goodness. Uh-oh. Whoa. Let's see here. I'm reading it with you. So thank you once again for tuning in. And of course, this is pre-recorded. I'm not going to do this, live, but that's why we do under code and we do the mundane because it's for all of you guys, right? Once again, you can always go back onto the YouTube page and see what I am sharing here. So let's take a look. So these are the books. So, Seven Laws of Noah. Did see that. Let's see. So that was Satan's children. Seven Laws of Noah. Merchant Networks, of course. And now there's a great book here. Who is Esau and Edom? So just read as a previously folks would say, well, where can we get this? We can get it right here. Today, thank you for joining in. Only 312. So this is the excerpt of what we were reading that you can also download here. And here he is stating the right of it, of the system to exist. Right? And of course, saying we should now begin to see the modus operandi of Judaism and Zionism, and how they are not the ways of Israel, but of Edom. The Jewish world program has used political upheavals and financial power to obtain its objectives. So this was expressed by this Zionist leader. Once again, for educational purposes, right? Of good books you can read. When we think we become a revolutionary proletariat, if I'm pronouncing it well and I see it, proletariat. When we think we become a revolutionary proletariat, the subordinate officers of the Revolutionary Party, when we rise, there rises also our terrible power of purpose. So this is by the Koestler and Herzl, right? These are two people who have put up, books on, because they were probably tripping, saying, "Yo, we were like bros, and this stuff is deep." And they're saying, too, right? They're like, "Can you read between the lines?" So why then were the Jews the ones destined to occupy the ancient lands of God's people Israel, as I was saying before, because it was so written in God's script. They actually, they are actually following the role of Edom, who was to gain possession of this area. So that's very, once again, it's a deep, 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 steep learning curve, because this is only in the time we were in 2020s. I mean, we might as well say almost near 25, 30, right? Because time is flying by. Don't be surprised if the calendar comes in, they come up and say, you know what, let's take a day away. Because I was learning also, we're not really following the calendar, which is the moon, that new moon, that's night moon, and you go for the actual full moon, which is the new moon. What? I just learned that. So wait, thus says, thus saith the Lord God. And I can't like big this up, so bear with me. Only because I guess this is on the screen. You're gonna have to just download it and see what's going on. If I do that, it'll, yeah. So they're actually following all of y'all. So when you hear that, think about it. So that played out possibly in the, for like discussion. Let's say that played out in 19 in the early 1911. Then the declaration was made, and then people waited for the time to actually implement this by 1947, 8, if I'm correct. Right. So, thus saith the Lord, because the enemy Idumea hath said against you. So who's you? Aha. Even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Therefore, saith Lord God, surely in the fire on my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, against all Idumea, which have appointed my land unto their possession with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast out for a prey. According to this prophecy, there would be a time that the enemy of Israel would say in contempt and ridicule to Israel, we have the ancient high places in our possession. Verse 5 identifies that God is speaking here against all Idumea, which is Edom. So, that was just a little taste. But yeah, it's there, and I did say I would like read a few. So these guys have hidden their identity and true role in Palestine by claiming this is this. It was coined, this word called Zionism was coined in 1890. Wait a minute, what happened? What else happened in that shit time? Wait, let me check the timeline. So wait. This, right? Then this. Wait a minute. I just need to like line things up here. And this. Okay. I just needed to kind of verify that, because for me, I'm thinking like, you know what? Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not catching something here. And this business was going on too, right? Okay. I'm just making sure. Thank you for tuning in. Let me get back to the article. I'm just cleaning up some tabs here. So, takeaway here, if you had a chance to look, world conflict and adversity. Common theme found in most plays, novels, stories, movies, etc. is that there is, or is that of a conflict usually existing between two of the main characters in a script. In the play Julius Caesar, there was a conflict between Caesar and his conspirators, right? Because they did this shit in the night, da da da. Brutus and Cassius. In the story of Cinderella, we find a conflict between the title character and her wicked stepmother. Without this conflict and opposition, the entire plot would becomes pointless. And that's very true. As film students, we learn this, right? This is something that's why movies exist. The plot, the theme, the climax, and yeah, the end, right? And usually death, especially tragedy, comedy, right? It gives life and meaning to the events and actions of the characters. So this is coming from the inside book here explaining. So some manner of conflict or struggle is actually expected, just as they exist in nature, which is possibly like, okay, this is the quote here. Actually, struggle is actually expected. Yes, that is true of life. So someone actually could say, because of this, we can probably take this and work with it. Okay, in our lives, in history, and stories, yeah, that's a fact, right? Especially in the Bible. Oh, wow. In the form of the age old conflict between good and evil. Hmm. Yes. So they call it out of chaos, or was it never miss a good chaos or some bullshit like that? Never, some out of chaos creates peace, adversity, or whatever. However, but the actors and individuals are the forefront of this conflict, or why. God has written a script for the world which identifies the two main characters who would be involved in the age-long struggle or conflict. God, Jacob, and Esau and Jacob. This is a consistent theme throughout the script. So they say this is a really sweet book, right? Because this tells you right here, right? God ordained conflict, and this is coming from the folks who are saying this is what they've seen in it. So the history of Jacob and Esau, this is like a pretext of anything, of everything. And once again, from God came light, I guess, right? And go down that rabbit hole. We are still the light. However, Esau and Jacob, Cain and Abel. It's always about that polarity, some folks would say. So through world conflicts, wars, persecution, same thing. So this, I'll just move on, but this is something you could actually take a look at. Here, two most contrasting religions from the Bible. And here it says with a what? Okay, I'm gonna blow this up, and that's where you can actually download that and see for yourself. And once again, this says a lot as to what's going on, especially when we put it in a context of media, press, news, book, movies, right? Whether, and once again, shout out to those guys who are trying to show it. But I feel it probably not even I could dig where, like, the movie that just came out here with exposing all this stuff, and look how many people, like, rest in peace, Anne Hesh and all them, all of that, just like, really, it says a lot. It says a lot about society, right? Like how our brains have been so, because I was able to catch some of it, and get some preview of it, and I'll tell you, it was great. However, I'm a little dicey about all that hype. Like, what is an actual? Because if it's such the hype, if I find out like a high, internet cable thing, and they're taking it up, I'm like, because there was so much that this shouldn't be. So okay, the fact that it happened and what it's about, and the theme is pretty, for me, like, as I'm seeing it, coming from the world of understanding what abuse and trauma is, and working with it also, and working with clients that have been through it. It starts early, right? It starts early in some cases. Unfortunately, it starts from uh, early life. Once again, there's always the choice to do it, the crime or not, right? And how that's and cycle of that. But when you think of that whole film, the sound of what it was, not the sound of music, but the sound of silence. Is that the sound of something? And I say it like that because, once again, I want to have discernment, and I don't want to draw only attention to that. But so you're telling me, okay, this is the story. People are tripping out. They're like, oh, we don't want the world to know that we. And this is the connection. The shocking part. Now, I'm coming from an old school generation. Don't forget, there was a film called many years ago. If you're following here, a film called Taxi Driver. And there was also, what was it? The one with, and that Taxi Driver was Jodie Foster. This is 19 what 70 some fuck 74 or 5, right? I was telling you a sketchy year. That shit was going down. Then you had Brooke Shields and Baby Jane, I think, or don't quote me. I'm not thinking of that, like all of that title, but she was in a film where she was the daughter of a working woman and all that, so that, right? So you had a lot of these scenes, and then I read an article about the taxi driver where the sister of the actress, who was Jodie Foster, who was older, had to stand in. But here's the thing: they're scared to say, okay, we can't really remember what happened 30. We haven't been unconsciously programming you either way, so that today, 50, 60, 50 years later, 60 years later, you know what? You can say, look, you're part of the sin anyways. You didn't have a problem with it then. However, what I was seeing is like, well, it's nothing new per se that I haven't seen. And here's the takeaway in a movie like Taxi Driver. And when I refer to Taxi, you'll have to look it up. But Taxi Driver, long story short, it was a weird film. Robert De Niro was in it. Bobby, yes, he was one of his popular films. Played a weird cab driver with a post, like around the end of Vietnam and some fucked up shit, generation boomer crisis, like mid, early 20s. And so we got a kink for this kid. That's straight up what it was. And that was Jodie Foster. And why? How did this film come out? Where? Whatever. The film happened, if I'm correct. I don't know if she won an Oscar for that or some shit, but there were a lot of those young actors. There was the O'Neill girl, Ryan O'Neill's girl, uh, Tatum. She won an Oscar, I believe, youngest at the time for Paper Moon. But I'm only throwing this out there just to show that, okay, so now, after 50 years or whatnot, we are told that, oh my God, the shock of the world is coming out, and these people are going to get scared and they're going to get pissed off. All while throughout all of that, we've heard of a list that exists. A lot of people already know who's on the fucking list. The list has been out. Fuck, if you hadn't been like, like I'm sure Gen X just caught on. They're like, okay, fuck, move on. Doesn't matter if this guy moved to Greece, right? So, does this film is it gonna remedy that? Or let's say the list came out today and it shows all your favorite fucking people and all this bullshit and more. I get a feeling people couldn't do much because the law's the law, right? But have discernment. That's why I guess I wanted to bust this episode today because once again, and, I'll probably pop around there, but it's just to throw out the message. That's why you got to keep your head down a bit. You got to see how this shit plays out, right? So now this comes out and they're like, well, we don't want to show it here and we can't. We're gonna bar it. And you're like, really? Because I'm sure if it was such a my takeaway is it just tells us, okay, this is real now that it's been on the screen as a updated contemporary story about what's been happening since, let's say, Taxi Driver. For like what was it? It's two different films. No, well, this one you do have it's based on the story of somebody who's worked and seen what's going on. I get that. And kudos, and I'd say big up, brave respect to that person. Why the fuck is it still going on? And even if this film does have a chance to at least give us an idea that it's worth seeing, and this is what they fucking killed other people maybe for, to prevent them from making this story, which is kind of like what we already see in the narrative of television since when? So, way off the chart, but to go back here once again. So who is he saw? And so this is from what these guys say. One approves of this, the other one prohibits. Now both of them are not, as we understand, Israelite. Here's the caveat going back before we wrap up. Once again, thank you for this part of the show on the date, right? So, okay, you see, this is why, once again, you got to come on the paper to see it. I just kind of want to see it as a whole, so it's not going to be necessarily readable, but you get the gist. I just want to really size it up. I'm not going to go through all of that now. This is for you. So, just breeze through this. One says, yeah, The other says yeah. One says yeah, 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 yeah. Quickly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 yeah, hey, 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 hey. Why is it not do? Do, or whoever you consider to be, uh, can with its mirror, like whatever. I took three words out of that. I said once I saw the word no, yeah, and then and then and then huh? Anyway, yeah, and can marry. So far these guys are up for the maybe for some folks maybe a good score. That's all I could say. This is kind of like yeah, all right, but this business here, wow. So with that, coming up here, and you see what's going on, and I think it's a brilliant read. Jacob's hatred of Esau's hatred of Jacob, the conflicting and antagonistic relationship between Esau and Jacob was magnified and intensified when Esau sold his birthright to Jacob for a mere bowl of pottage. Genesis 25, verse 33. Jacob then had the legal right to receive his blessings of the inheritance which he received from Isaac, the father, by pretending he was Esau. When Esau realized what had happened and that Jacob now possessed the blessings that could have been his, Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing. Now, this is what the air mark of what it was. And they work once again, right? But once again, Joshua 58, 28. The hate and the enmity, thus the descendants of Esau would hate and despise the entire race descended from Jacob. Esau's hatred of Jacob was exhibited when Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border. That's Numbers 20:21 during the 8th century BC. Prophet Aaron. Okay, so the anger and the all of this for the transgressions, for the transgressions of Eden, and for I will not turn away the punishment thereof. But he did pursue his brother with the sword. So it's goes into all of that. Maybe why once again they're so tripped out. Why was this Herod troubled about the birth and arrival of the Messiah Jesus Christ? First, we find that Herod was not of the same racial lineage. Antipater, an Edomian by birth, was made by Caesar procreator of all Judea, and his son, commonly called Herod the Great, was at the time of Christboth, king of Judah, including Idumea, including, oh geez, double snap, right? At the time of Christ's birth, king of Judah, including Idumea. So by the father, right? And there's other books, the antiquities here. So did that play into something? How was he when he was a kid? Herod had talked in secret to wise men, telling them to diligently search for him. So that's deep, eh? Diligently. And when they found him, tell him so he may come and worship him also. What? You believe it or not? But it was actually a ruse. Buk, 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 a ruse. So that Herod could kill Christ. So imagine that. Why did that? And he became tricked by a magi, right? That happened. So sometimes the magi is okay. See? Probably a bro. And sent and slew all the male children that were in Bethlehem. Now, I'm just learning with you guys. Didn't that shit went down in with Moses, right? So they tried to do that shit with Moses, and now you know what? I'm refreshing my mind. Yes, they want to kill all the babies, right? Because that's how they said it. That's it written in the Bible. Slew all the male children, right? That were in Bethlehem, and in all codes thereof from to him, blah, blah, blah. Well, blah, blah, blah for a lot of people now because we're still living it, right? Of the wise guys. Get it? Wise men, wise guy. Herod the Edomite had such hatred for Christ and what he represented that he ordered a mass execution to make sure Christ would like, wow. And they're still doing it, right? They've been doing it since the 60s. Well, I mean, for the once again, as we cap this video, you're gonna see what's been going on when you be picking cotton in 2023 in America. So, had not the angel of the Lord instruct? Yeah, so we know the deal with that. The enemies of Christ included the Pharisees. So those once again wicked Negroes, because we have enough, from what I understand, even in the Israelite community. You know what? UIC, Bishop Nathaniel, I'm good. You know, and once again, you still gotta have discernment because it would be foolish to believe that it cannot be infiltrated and still have discernment. Open your mind, but hey, there are good, better takeaways with IUIC than the other camps. Like I'm so discouraged when I used to be even like I listen to Sakari and what you have to have discernment. But I'm still IUIC, because I've understood that even though the bishop had been schooled and those bishops come from a different time. And that's even when I was in the 80s. That was, what do you call it? 8 West. Or, anytime I went to New York, I was always catching those flyers. So I was already in. But I wasn't in because, I'm a Canadian. We were rockers. We have a whole different vibe. But have a certain, I'm an Israelite. So I was like, dang, I knew I was right when my uncles were schooling me and making me read books about Niggerland and all of that. And here I am now. It's my memory has been refreshed. Praise be. You dig? So yeah, I'm not trying to be any angel, pastor, or preacher here, but I'm just saying this is way better than motherfucking colors and gangs, right? And now that I hear they're trying to penetrate in the hoods, that's gonna be these guys Esau's worst nightmare because that was created to be that. And now it's gonna be all shook up. So wait a minute, let me hear this. So his hatred, so he did a mass thing. Hanad, yeah, the angel. Hey, who was that angel? In other words, I'm not going to read this. The antagonism. No, I'm not going to read that because it was something I was kind of catching. But I think I kept from up to here to make sure. And this guy had to go through all that shit and talk to these guys, right? And this is Josephus, who's a good reference of his story. In his Antiquity of Jews, also esteems, yeah, right? It's that deep, right? Let me see if I get a little squeeze here. Well, because anti-Semitism, right? Semitic means from the tribe of Shem, right? It's so instinctive that it may quite be simply called one of the primal instinct of mankind, one of the important instincts by which the race helps to preserve itself against total destruction. So we take it and spin it. I cannot emphasize the matter too strongly. And this is not as those have tried to make the world believe in active prejudice. It is a deeply hidden instinct which every man is born. He remains unconscious of it as of all other instincts. So this is what they're saying. They're trying to get, and that could be like the trauma of a child, right? Like instinctive. Kid has an instinct that you're white or black. Fuck that. But they're always trying to put a spin on it, starting with the Shemitic. So just as when something flies in the direction of your eyes, so it's like Jesus used to talk in parable, and maybe I go off the topic, and we call it today, going off topic or whatnot. The idea is get the message out. Sometimes you have to be coy and you have to talk in code, and that's thus you have to be the nerd and like what this doesn't sound right. There's no conspiracy because we know the will or the people who do conspire or the will for folks to conspire against people is real. You could say, oh well, that's just a conspiracy that Harry Fuck. The guy knocked out what? He caused the Holocaust of young people just for that. You dig? So, yeah, I'm saying you dig because I've been hearing that a lot these days. So, what? So where I think where we are today is what is hatred, right? And how much is hate, and is hate a created thing? No. Is it in the seed of people? Maybe, because maybe even though people are indifferent, and that's why I always say, you know what, you want to I had a friend of mine yesterday. He was telling me, and maybe he'll be the guest. He was here previously. That was uh, with a J, right? Uh, well, Picasso with a J, who was Asian. He was saying he had experienced some discrimination, and people were actually chinking their eyes. I was like, wow, I haven't heard that in a long time. People actually, like, if they were going to do Chinese racism, Asian race, they would actually chink their eyes. He's like, yeah. And he's in his, like, near 60 now, right? And I'm like, wow. But I was like, also, at the same time, in good humor, we were laughing because I was like, ha, now you know how I feel, right? Because I was like, you know what, you experienced racism 3 times? Well, heck, welcome to my world, right? But he was still surprised. His answer to that was to read the book Black Like Me. Well, I scolded him for that. But here we are. We say that it's all about nothing, but it is hypocritical, right? It's all hypocritical because even then, for someone to get in front, I told them, I said, you experienced this. This is my friend, Picasso with a J. I said, would you be willing to stand in front of the Klan like this guy, was it Jim Brown, right? Or whatnot, way back in just before the Civil War, if I'm correct, or during or whatnot, who took up arms, a white guy, and with his sons took up arms and started battling off against literally the Klan, when they could call it politics, if I'm correct. But hey, when was the last time that fucking happened? Well, guess what? Down the line, they hung his ass. They hung his white ass, and after that, they forget about it, right? And his legend is very murky at best. So, if we can't even get rid of that from that aspect, considering since the beginning it's been created by the machines that make it happen, you have no choice almost but to believe in a divine intervention that's going to help fucking. I mean, if it was up to them, they could have wiped us off, and they've tried and they've done it before. How? If it's as it's happening now, maybe in some parts of the world, yes, it's been colluded and infiltrated even in the lands of even what is known as Africa Cypricatus, formerly Negro. Let's see here. The end result is that those who fear being labeled anti-Semitic will never be effective in exposing the root of the problems in the land. No such fear existed in Jesus Christ, who boldly spoke against the Talmud Pharisees face to face in public gatherings. So, yes, you could see that infiltrated, been there, done that. Get ready, it's happening again. Because this is all about prophecy, and it's also the grand finale. The prophecy finale being a grand rally of bringing people together to be aware. Because either way, once again, it might be the first, and it's definitely going to be the second for those who are already flaming up, right? And they're probably like, no, we still didn't get it in the world. They're so stupid. There's more fire burning because of those. Damn, I wish I didn't do this. Oh, right. He specifically pointed out their characteristics, stating they were hypocrites, a generation of vipers full of dead men's bones. What the heck? Well, let's go back to what was it? The delectable Negro? Stew. And all uncleanness, blind guides, a wicked and adulterous generation, full of iniquity, serpents, murderers, and of their father, the Diablo. Because of Christ's exposures of the traits and ways of these Talmudic Jews, they cannot easily continue in their ungodly practices. And thus, that's the bros too, right? John 8:7, and they sought to, they sought to take out the resurrection, and they succeeded in getting rid of the body. And here's the get ready. Here's what I learned. This is the Christianity of old days. But one thing they get right is, yeah, the resurrection, right? But is it reverent? Yes. Is he coming back to hug and kiss everybody? I don't know. Now knowing that we've been all bamboozled, and he was a bro on top of that, and you say it's not about color. Well, I don't know. I think you might have to, if it was just like regular white people, and here's this. I think if it was just everybody in the crowd that didn't like him and was about that, that too would be high reasons for more people to say, well, you're busted still if you're Esau. Because if you're claiming that there were more white people in all of this and Jesus was sort of white, well, obviously, once again, is the crowd of white people who are still putting the stone to him. And maybe one bro, which is Simon, who helped him with the cross. See how dumb things like kind of pan out? So in today's thought-controlled world, Jesus Christ would be considered a hater and an anti-Semite. Yes, that's clear because they know the most what they have made it known that the New Testament is the most anti-Semitic book ever written. So this is good, eh? Maybe I'll come back and read some more of this because you know what? There's a lot, and I'm taking the initiative um, of what I see the IUIC doing, and hopefully, you know what? I mean, I know there's one in Toronto. Once again, I'm doing what I do. I don't know if I'm holy or graceful enough, but I'm only doing my part. So this, you know what? I'll get back to this because I am a writer, and I will be showing you the book Zulu that'll be coming out, The Crown of Thorns, which is a superhero sci-fi flick with a twist, where the Zulus, of course, being of the tribe of Judah, have to take on the devil to, once again, fulfill the prophecy. So you'll hear more about that. And I see this section here has a little bit about some of the history. So let's move on. Once again, who is Esau Edom? This guy looks like a bro. Look at him. Don't you think so? Because once again, and this is probably some shit they don't want you to know, but it is what it is. Look, look, look. Almost can almost say he's like one of them Israelites who like, giving you quotes. Or maybe he's an agent. I'm telling you, but the inner hatred, I always like to bust one of these. And this is a Rothschild, maybe. Always have discernment. Maybe could have been maybe one of the last ones. So, because you always have to have the real people and then maybe not. But going back, right? That's a bro right there. Mayor Amshel Mufi the Rothschild, 1818, 1874. Pretend it's like the 1900s, right? So 1918, 1974. Yeah? Play it like that. 2018. So this bro here, Mufi, oh my god, they have those cute names. Hey, Muffy, he probably likes some muffs. I don't know. He was born in Newport, June 29th. Happy belated, 1818. So that happened like last week. He was the first of his family to receive an education at an English university, spending time at both Magdalen and Trinity College, Cambridge after a spell at both Leipzig and Heidelberg universities. He followed a traditional apprenticeship, according to family, in the various houses, but never really played much of part in the business. Yeah. Right? Not much. You don't hear that much. I'm sure there's probably more. Let's see here. What do we pull up? See, this is well, yeah. You guys can check all of that because this is more like an archive. But let's see how far this thing goes. 1904, 1920, 1892. This is good. So see, you always learn something new. So if you want to check it out, you just bust over here, and you get to find out about the family. Dress ups and get to know your cousins, right? See, so that was that's who I call. You never know. They probably got black-looking people in their family. If so, I'll give that to all you right wingers. Like you got more reason to be angry at the bros because that had to happen, right? If it wasn't through espionage and once again like Black Wall Street taking over shit. And of course, speaking of you guys, yeah, the passing of a great race, the racial basis of European history by Madison Grunt. And so this is something actually in 1916, just around that time. Uh, let's take a quick preview here. Let's see. I believe, if I'm correct, that we have a link open for that. So Ah, yes. Uh, well, once again, and this you can always check out these sites, and you could get maybe a little download, and you have the link for that. But there we go. And so this is the first 1916 edition of Passing of the Great Larry. So in a nutshell, just like what you might want to believe, or you know, say what you want about how people felt about us. Um, this is one of those better books they never want you to see, right? This is a maximum expansion of the Alpines, migrations, right? Some people would probably call the caves at a certain time, right? Expansion of the pre-Teutonic Nordics, hypothetical early Nordic influence spreading over the continent, Grant's vision. So this is how far this stuff goes, right? 100 BC to 1100 AD. So as we see tribes here, the Goths and Lombards, Southern Slavs, who are probably bros, right? That's why you know what they always try to twist it, like make a play and then say Slav slave. Well, you know what? They might have been not too far from the Black Sea. Chances are, right? Not the Caspian Sea. Yeah. All of this we're learning right now. So this book here, basically, like this one here, present distribution of European races. So when you want to kind of get a look and see what this is all about, and seeing contemporary to what's going on in the world, this is kind of a good book because this is the folks that's what they're on. Still today, they're on that. They're on that smoke. They're all about that smoke. So, yeah. I have to laugh because it's like, folks will be like, what the fuck am I actually watching? Yeah, well, maybe not. Maybe for somebody, this is where you need to get information because I know there's a lot of information going out there. We're hearing about these books and we don't have really, we don't know where to get them. So, hey, here you are. It's there. Keep it while it's still up and drop it like it's hot. Um, Black Image and the White Mind. We all know about this. We don't know that, right? Slavery and construction of race. So these are like some, as we say, essays and papers. The Negro Question. This is a good book also, where if you want to learn why people are, and these are scholars, their own white, Anglo-Saxon scholars who put this out. So, are they going to be condemned because they are from, like, the tribe of Esau? And once again, is it a color thing? No, but this whole episode is about showing how insidious, right? Even between the lines where it's so blurred, you would obviously in 2023 you'd be like, well, this, you know what, we're all good, we're all together. Yes, but we're so far removed from the truth of what it took to get there. And here's the punchline. Has it gotten any fucking better for you? Especially if you're like actually the original color of why this whole shit started off with to begin with. So one would say, well, it's about it's not just a white thing. No, it's not. We're wicked too, but you do have folks like us living in France, living in Denmark, living in Switzerland, living in what is it, Belgium, living in Italy, living in hey, we're here, we're out in the north. You got them everywhere. So even in those 4 or 5, in Germany, in all those powers, you got people who look like us. We were probably there before when they called us swarthy, but then they made sure they wiped out a lot of us and then took on the identity. Drum roll symbol. So the social bias of slavery still exists. So maybe I'll come back and read this at another time too. But this is the Negro Question, Negro Show. Another good one, hot off the presses, The Dawning of the Apocalypse. Look at this drawing. The roots of slavery and white supremacy, settler colonialism, and capitalism in the long 16th century. And this was right around the time of before they were calling the Middle Ages, the dark, the Black Plague, In some places, they were calling it the Dark Ages, right? Before the Age of Enlightenment. So this is one of those, I would say, even super hot books to get. I guess you can get it on Google Play. Can we? Well, I actually have one version here on Google Books, so you could get a look. You probably have it in print, but so yeah. So I'll say. So we saw numerous commemorations of the year 1619. Never forget that year, because that was that year you Americans got something going on with that, right? Which was said to be the first arrival of enslaved Africans occurred in North America. Yet in 1520s, even though we all understand it's 1492, the Spanish, from their imperial perch in Santo Domingo, had already brought enslaved Africans to what has become South Carolina. I didn't know that too. See, the enslaved people here quickly defected to local indigenous populations and compelled their captors to flee. Probably the hood. Deploying such illuminating research, Dawning of the Apocalypse is a riveting revision of the creation myth of settler colonialism and how the United States was formed. And here, Gerald Horne, who's the writer, argues forcefully that in order to understand the arrival of colonialists from the British Isles in the early 17th century, so this is after the previous 5 or 4, do your math, one must first understand the long 16th century, from 1492 until the arrival of the settlers in 1607. See, so this period, I want to look closely into that, because all between that, all that Black Plague, all that crazy shit, all that settler shit, everything went off. It got off here. It started off here up until here. And when you talk about the Bush people, maybe a little earlier, right? So during this long century, there we go, whiteness morphed into white supremacy and allowed England to co-opt not only religious minorities, but also various nationalities through Europe, thus forging a muscular bloc that was needed to confront rambunctious indigenes and Africans. I like how they say rambunctious in retelling the bloodthirsty story of the invasion of the Americas, also Africa. Recounts how the fierce resistance by Africans and their indigenous allies weakened Spain and enabled London to dispatch settlers to Virginia in 1607. Those Dutch settlers, Quaker Oats, you had some Negroes on that boat too, right? These settlers laid the groundwork for the British Empire, blah blah blah, and the United States. I would say blah 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 because you know what? Some people would be like, oh yeah, so that was so long ago. So check out this book. This is one of the hot ones. I had to put that up. So yeah, so we saw what was going on with Herod and you got some other Philo of Alexandria. You might want to read on him. Who was Pontius Pilate, right? Was he a bro? I don't know, right? But this was with a trial, and so what happened to him afterwards, we know. But Christ before him. This is a nice. Well, I wouldn't say nice, but hey, it's what it was. Hieronymus Bosch, of course, coming up in the time, being one of the folks that would paint, and this is the Middle Ages, right? So all of that period, you had a lot of strange art like that, but this is what it was. So when we come back to the dawning of the apocalypse, see the painting was Pontius Pilate. Was he a bro? I don't know, right? Because that was the world before the 15th the 15th century. Something even more hideous happened. So Hieronymus Bosch, Hieronymus Bosch. He was like born 1450 to 1516, born in Holland, died. Hertogenbosch, Netherlands. So this is the type of painting. You know, people always look like that, eh? Notice with the bald head and the weird eyes, right? But apparently, these are a lot of those folks, even just prior to that, are those bush people, right? Very interesting. I'll take a look in this. But we did start the show with, yes, this was one of the biggest shocks that I wanted to actually share and read about the deposition on here. What happened to Martin Luther King? Just before we wrap up, once again, thank you for joining and check out this post. This is where you get most of the good reads, right? Negro Rulers of Scotland and British Isles, one of the best ones. I read it. I'll talk about that in a bit. And of course, who was Herod and the Scythians? So let's just go back here. Let's see what else we had. So we just said, okay, so Pontius Pilate, right? I want to take a look at this this art here. But just before, let's do a quick history. I guess you see the art here. This is what they're telling you. This is what they're selling you, right? So if that's the case, you Edomites are still guilty because it's still a bunch of people look like you who did this crime. So you can't win. So yes, if you imagine, it was probably more bros there, and this was a bro, right? Like this. Then one could probably say, yeah, okay, we kind of get it, right? Can you imagine if this was all like, okay, who's responsible? You guys, all of you who look like that. And all for this guy. But imagine, what were the other bros doing there? What were all the like? You see, they weren't all slaves. That's why, and this is all happening where in the continent which was known at the time before before it became Africa, right? Not the probably more likely the Israel that was than the Israel is today. So that Caesar Borgia, as we call him, I call him that anyway. Right? And what year was this? A minute ago. So they were already, this was the age of enlightenment. This was the period when they started busting this stuff. And then, of course, you had folks who were writing books. And that influenced their arguments of supremacy through art. Then you have this. But now, if we understand and take a look and say, well, wait a minute now, maybe you had Simon who helped Yeshua, the Christ, with that. He's probably the only black guy that we speak about, right? And then we think, okay, so what would the rest of the people will do? We're Israelites, and we're not. Oh yeah, well, does color matter? Yeah, because it sets the narrative to understand what the true history of the world was, the political climate and influences based on the previous, even written with Old Testament rules and commandments. The drama played out again. So the argument could always be made, well, I guess it was all white people. Well, once again, you're busted. If it were all white people did this, then you're just as busted. You did it to the white guy on top of that. Right? That's where Christianity goes. And I rolled with it. However, how do you at least explain once again? If it was so, then any other black person out there must have had it pretty good, I gather, right? Because the narrative is, oh look, this guy's got a fro. See, they tried. Oh, you see, look at that, sneaky eeky. They tried, but the narrative was, they tried, but the narrative was, don't go there too much. Because if you actually choose to learn it and listen to it as it should be, which is, let's say these are bros, and yeah, you might have but and the people were us, the Israelites then, and we turned them down, and yes, he was a bro, and we had a reason to bust him, to arrest this black ass going around saying he's the Christ. That made way more sense because his value, at least that's how they're showing, Caesar's showing it here, couldn't have had more value or less value than the regular people of Negro land who were probably slaves still then. You dig? And for him to come back looking like that and saying, I got you. You didn't get me the first time. You told me some good stuff, but you probably got to do something more about your people who already did this to you. See? So anyway, The narrative being, look at the art, and they all look like this. I don't know what's up with that, but yeah, they always look at. Let me see, Here we go. Let me see here. I wanna. Can we get something on Hieronymus Bosch? Yeah. So this weirdo here was like, cause yeah, right. These are kind of some of the paintings that he was doing. I'm just gonna select a few because, well, but kind of semi-morbid. Some people can say like hell, like a Dante's Inferno type of vibe, that type of thing. People slicing and dicing, all that weirdness, yeah. Half goat, half, which eventually would almost be remnant of what became Dali, right? Yeah. Like you look at that, and this is like Michelangelo, right? And all these guys, Da Vinci. I'm not sure if it was Da Vinci who actually did painting for Caesar Borgia. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these guys were smart guys too. They could draw. Look, this is heaven. So where they get their inspiration from that, I don't know, right? Something's up. There we go again, heaven. Was he a pro? I don't know. No, they say he's from the caves up there. But that's food for thought, right? Because how they interpreted what became the word, and especially, let's see, 1450, 1516, if I'm correct, King James around that era, a lot of changes, a lot of twists, a lot of plots, right? So, once again, thank you for tuning in to the mundane. It's at 4 p.m. It's now on the 11th, on the 7th month, being July. This is not a lie. We've covered what we had. We know today, once again, just to recap, last known slave ship, yada yada. No news is big news with that, right? So you can commemorate that hundreds of years after you've been, busted, proven guilty of the crime. What else did we see? We understand that in this day and age, as of a couple of days ago, July 9th, 2023, judge throws out the lawsuit for reparations over the 1921 Tulsa race massacre and killed, I'm sure, if not the whole town, hundreds and thousands of people. So they've tried to get this again. Hey, could they try one last time? You never know. Till kingdom come, you never know. We can only pray for them. So we covered a few things. I did say I wanted to take a quick look at Herod the Great. Let's see what he was doing. What we saying about him? So he was the guy who tried to kill all the men. He wanted to kill Christ, right? And so he wasn't having any of that. And I just wanted to kind of check a little of the background. Who's your mom? Herod was born around 72 BC before in Idumea, south of Judea. It's now part of the modern states of Palestine and Israel. Okay. And Idumea, once again, look at that. I love this map. I want to get a map. Kingdom of Judah. So Idumea, Kingdom of Edom, Kingdom of Moab, Ammon. So this is very good information, right? Edom was an ancient kingdom in Transjordan, located between Moab and the northeast, the Araba to the west, and the Arabian Desert to the southeast. So let's see if we get a close up. This is the kingdom of Edom. Hot stuff, right? Look at that. Kingdom of Judah, which is Jerusalem, right? So I always believe that this is good information to capture while you still can, while it's available, because God only knows this stuff probably won't be around forever, right? So Herod the Great, going back once again, so he's born 72 BCE. We just checked out what Adumius saw. He was the second son of Antipater the Idumean, founder of the Herodian dynasty. Okay, high-ranking official under Ethnarch, yeah, Hyrcanus, John Hyrcanus. Okay, John Hyrcanus. Look at this guy. He's like one of those Afro-Asian, a member of the Hasmonean dynasty, right? Was for a long time the Jewish high priest in the first century before Christ. He was also briefly king of Judah, 67, 66 BCE, and then, yeah, no, okay, right. Something there, right? But we'll check that in a second. So, and Cypros and Nabatean, Arabia, a princess from Petra in present-day Jordan. Herod's father was by descent an Edomite with a Jewish mother. So the mother, his ancestors had converted to Judaism. So he was raised as a Jew, but he converted. So he might have been one of those folks who, if I want to look into that, was he from up in that region in the North Mountains and all? So, but we know the mother. So thus his ethnic background was Arab on both sides of the family. According to the works of Josephus, Herod was a descendant of Eleazar Maccabus. Okay? And it's in the family. His father's good relation with the Roman general and dictator Julius Caesar. So I just wanted to go there just because we just have to kind of see, try to size up. So he grew up in that environment where he probably had enough power, long story short, to say, hey, you know what? I don't like this kid called Christ, and you know what? I've been hearing about it. I heard the prophecy, and I was like, this shit can't go on. Right? Caesar, Jerusalem in the same year, Cleopatra married the Roman leader Antony. So this all happened around that time when Jesus was around. Imagine that! Recognizing Cleopatra's influence over Antony. Okay, I'm not going to get into this. But all of this is why some folks, when they debate about Christ and all of this, if it's real or not, well, then how do you fucking account for this? They're telling you the names of the people that was in the time. So one is in the Bible in a short period, and then you have the rest of what is great literature and philosophy with a twist on this guy's existence. And then you have Wikipedia, right? Look, and so later in his work, that's the book, The Antiquities of the Jews, written in Greek by historian Josephus in the 13th year. So what got him off so much? Do we even have that? What got him off so much? And let's see, he had wives and children too, eh? Look at that. You can have that. Let's see. 30s. It would be around the 30s. So this is what happened. So over Antiochus, Mark Antony, aka what's his name? Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah. All right. Very jealousy. So there's something to read on, right? One of the last pagan writers of Rome, in his book Saturnalia, when it was heard that, as part of the slaughter of up to two, Herod, king of the Jews, had ordered his own son. It's better, as the Emperor Augustus remarked, it is better to be Herod's pig than. All right? So this is the only figure, and they say, has been loathed equally by both for posterity, bloodthirsty ruler. Anyways, at the end of the day, how did this Negro make history, right? He looked like just one of them guys back in the 80s with the Jerry curls. Could have been that guy. We don't know. The green eyes. But it's something to read up on, right? So, the Scythians, and once again, thank you for tuning in. Truth and Consequences for Pontius Pilate's hating on the conscious Israelites is have these great books to read, and I'll give you a little taste of the Scythians, which is one of the top greatest books I've read so far this year. It's been around for a while in 2016, but it just gives you a little bit more, and it's not once again. It's a friendly show. Even I know all you Yankees out there love this stuff because we're just telling you a little, like your brother, giving you a little heads up, right? Yes, God does love everybody. Once again, if you can't fight the real enemy who is among your own, forget about all black and black crap. We're done for now, unless they start to take and follow the commandments. We got that. This is for you guys who want to heal out there. Don't hate this book. Just read, right? The Scythians. So I did say, I did want to go through because there was an article here that I did have, and I don't want to unintentionally bring you to the wrong page. So just bear with me. We covered the 7 laws of Noah. Once again, thank you for tuning in. We did cover a few books. We did cover the 10 Commandments of Noahide law. And thus, as we did start to show with the Scythians, here it is. You can print this if you want, but you can also click on the link. This is the Internet Encyclopedia of Ukraine. So the Scythians are a group of Indo-European tribes that controlled the steppe. So I believe this is the steppe where the land, just above the land of southern Ukraine in the 7th to 3rd centuries. So this is, of course, before Christ. According to the most predominant theories, they first appeared there in the late 8th century before Christ, after having been forced out of Central Asia. The Scythians were related to the Soromatians and spoke an Iranian dialect. After quickly conquering the lines of the Cimmerians, they pursued them into Asia Minor and established themselves as a power in the region. In the 670s BC, they launched a successful campaign to expand into Media Syria and Palestine. They were forced out of Asia Minor early in the 6th century BC by Medes, who had by then assumed control of Persia and retreated to their lands between the lower Danube River and Don River, known as Scythia. So this is good because this is kind of takes you, as I've been reading this book, and this is, of course, this is on this website, but this book gives you a little bit more of a twist in the sense that, you'll get to understand there. Once again, it's about the bros, and there is some definite black history involved in this, right? A nomadic people whose culture flourished between the 7th and 3rd century in a territory ranging from Thrace in the west across Central Asia, right? And we know in Mongolia, especially in Asia, we have a lot of that. This guy, or person, Herodotus, great historian, was one who wrote a lot of the history that most would have some argument. So while there is so much debate about the origins of the Scythian population, Herodotus claims, and most modern scholars agree, they moved west from Asia into Europe by way of the Great Steppe Corridor. So that is all what is Ukraine and all the other countries. In the 1st century BC, Greek historian Diodorus Siculus states the Scythians first moved north from Araxes, a river of Armenia. Right? Several waves from the Volga-Ural steppes into the North Black Sea. The reason why they were calling Black Sea Scythians, right? Herodotus also, writing in the 5th century, also shows the Samaritans, Yeah, Samaritans. Samatians, yeah, Samatians. Not Samaritans, Samatians. Splitting from the Black Sea, Scythians moving east. Then recent archaeological discoveries at Tuva, at Altai Mountains. So they're saying 9th century BC, right? And how did they look? However, as 1st century CE, Chinese chroniclers speak of their red hair and blue eyes, their Caucasian features, and Indo-European language support Bronze Age origins in the West, likely from the Celts. So this is very tasty reading because you get a chance to see the expanse. Now, their warfare included weapons, maces, everything you see here. Herodias says the Scythians were invincible and impossible to approach. With such weapons and tactical ability, it's not surprising different nations often solicited Scythian military service. So were they bros, right? Because we see here the continuation. And two, not only just like were they, well, how can I say? Not, I don't want to go there, but eventually what was to happen to the Moors, right? Even within the trading and whatnot, these folks came around and probably were, if anything, if they were coming from the mountains and up in that north area, we can call that the Edom, once again, the Edomite, origin of the Edomites. So they already had weapons and tactical ability, not surprising different nations, right? In 490 BCE, Saka mounted archers assisted the Persians against the Greeks at the Battle of Marathon. And then again, here, Darius III, Alexander against Alexander the Great. Right? So these guys, Scythian princes from the Black Sea, instrumental in Pompey defeat of the Mithridates, Mithridates 6. So these are all wars. So and all of this, I don't want to get all that deep, but this is a little bit of the history showing at least where this land is, what it's doing today, right? Because this is still where most of the fighting is going on right now in the Ukraine. So I took a look at this book because while we just read all of that, I can say it was probably a little bit more watered down than what I was able to take back from this book. So I'll just do a little quick reading here. And I do have the book, and I'll do another post reading that. So there's a couple of books I'll read more. So this book, The Scythians, the White Race in Antiquity and the Philosophy and Doctrine of War. So let's see, can we just even get the sample here? I'll just read part, just a little part. So this is, of course, by the writer, Dennis James Watson. And so his take on it is the origin of the white race. Well, where do white people come from? The customs and the ideas of creation according to it, and the early civilizations, blackness of Babylon, Ethiopia, Phrygia, Egypt, Persia, Greece, Rome, right? And religion, digression on the color of the ancient gods, Jesus Christ. So this is like, wow, right? And digressions on the Jews and blackness. So this book is like, wow, and I just got this. It was kind of opens up a little bit more of the door because you hear about it so much, you even start to question the Vikings, right? Because that been coming around that. Wait a minute, not only there, what the Vikings too? Yeah, some of them had red hair and and blue eyes, but there are a lot of bros there too. What? So hold on. So this is a kind of, I would say, in simple terms, this is a book about the origin of Esau today, from then, and how it is still working today, thus to the war that we see going on. So I picked it up as great, you know, The topics on Marcus, right? An unanswered letter to a learned professor. Brilliant, right? Law and strife. And once again, because of chaos, right? They've made all of this under chaos. The divine sparks, neo slavery, the Civil War, the Lost War, and black violence, the Klan, the slave relationship, deathlessness, the warrior doctrine, right? So this stuff is like, oh, look, music, dance, theater, sex and violence. One of the most amazing. I mean, and once again, this is the type of book that folks would like. No, you can't read that, right? Because it's like, wow. Hey, let's squeeze this up. Let's do a little tip. Not some, but most of the history of the world has been falsified, hidden, kept secret, interpolated, or as in most cases, has simply not been investigated deeply. The basis for this is the chauvinism of nations. Each nation, in order to glorify its history, adopts stories that serve to promote the national interest. Observation has taught me that most people are ignorant not only of the real history of their own countries, but also of their own racial origins. This is very clear because one of the most obvious things observable on this planet is that most of the people are racially mixed. Men have not come to grips with what this really means, including all the whites in America. The contemporary view of history, both public and private, is that civilization has passed from white to black. That is, the whites, or the Scythians, as they were called in ancient times, are the inventors and bringers of civilization. Commencing with the Greeks, European civilization has forever been on the march. Practically every white historian, known and unknown, has preached the gospel of black enslavement to whites. Fortunately, black people are seriously into oral history, and as a youngster growing up, I would frequently hear people expound on the glories of the black race and the many kingdoms we were said to have established. Research has revealed the truth of these assertions, pardon me, research has revealed the truth of these assertions, as well as the role of the Scythians, the white race, in ancient times. For instance, Ethiopia in our epoch is easily the most ancient nation on earth. Thus, quote unquote, I'll just pause here for a second, we call it Africa today, the continent, right? Even though it was given the name Serpio Africanus. But I digress. So, nation of the earth, this is why whites have gone so far as to claim the Ethiopians as being white. So, we go into what we see today, like they're freaking on Cleopatra and the Egyptians, right? Well, they're black looking people, but with different pigmentation. However, down the line, right, we don't think of them as the same as Negro as the Israelites or being Israelites. I mentioned this. So they say Ethiopian as being white. I mentioned this only to point out the lengths to which the whites have gone to conceal the history of the black race. Now, the way I read this was, it's not like white people, like my friends and all that. I'm just saying the conscientious mindset then, right? This is before. So they weren't calling them white or black people. However, it was probably more likely Edomites, Scythians, and Israelites. You dig? So I mentioned this only to point the lengths of what, yeah. So incidentally, Ethiopian is the ancestral name of the black race. Ethiopian, not African. These words obviously have two different meanings. The theory of relativity makes it understood that things are such in accordance with one's perspective that energy and matter are essentially the same, changing places under a given set of circumstances. E equals mc squared. Come from a man, the ancient Eastern symbol of interchanging forces. I'm assuming this asterisk represents the same relativity. This is why the wise have said that Western mathematics is proof, not truth, but proof of the Eastern religious systems. The Nazis certainly proved this, as detailed in Ravencroft's The Spear of Destiny, a neat work on the occultism of the Nazi Party. So, this is just a taste. You know? Right? So this is such a sweet book. I'll actually, you know what? I'll come back and because I actually have it. So I think I'll do once again. I'll like to share some of this. Brilliant. That so this is why it's such a long-winded post. You know, there's so much to catch up on. I missed all you guys. You guys are great. Yeah, yeah. Love, 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 love. But yeah, keep keep your head easy. Do your thing. Enjoy the holidays. But wait, don't forget, it's only not even been 4 years, but now going on three since 2020. Where are your kids tonight? How has everybody been feeling? Has everybody been getting the rest they need? Has everybody been getting enough sun? Has everybody been at least happy, praying? Has everybody been loved? Has everybody been getting some? Has everybody gotten a hug? Do you have enough to eat? Are you safe? Do you have a bed to sleep on tonight? Do you have some heat? Or do you have air conditioning? Do you have a reason to help somebody out and do something good for somebody? These are things of big takeaway today. So that's pretty much what time it was for me. What more can you do? Because right now we see so much going on. That's why there's so much to cover. And it goes on until my next appearance. I'm bringing the date. But once again, history is repeating itself, and biblically, there are some folks out there who would be, well, why bother? Let's just go on, live life every day like we have, and it's like, yeah, sure, that might be the case for a lot of people. Well, it's for family, right? Still, not knowing, once again, that's what I'm learning. The first death, hey, you know what? Hey, life goes on. Maybe it might not be accelerated, but maybe there's a lot of folks out there who are surviving too, eh? More than we actually are being told, but we're not being told what is maybe the accuracy or truth of it. So there is a little problem with that. Something's going on that is probably out of our control that we just have to let. Yeah, but hey, I'm not saying don't go out there and enjoy yourself. I do, but you know what? Now we're getting the news blocked. Apparently, there's a new law and all this stuff going on. And I'm like, you know what? Imagine the day you wake up and you see, hey, you don't have access to the internet, right? And you can't fucking go online. No more Facebook, or you can't, you can't send a message or a text. You can't check your email. You can't get your fucking bank card. You can't watch it. All kinds of weird shit, right? And I'm like, we still got it good today. But what wrong is it to think that we could probably not have it better tomorrow, and maybe the day after, right? But that, for a lot of people, something, unfortunately, in God's will, because of He gave people, individuals, free choice to intercede into pretty much the world's destiny. And this is not just new. This has been going on for a long time, as we reviewed, right? It's something insidious. They've been saying, okay, well, every 30, 20 years, we got to do this shit. We got to, the word depopulate and all this crazy shit. Oh yeah, eugenics, yeah, yeah. But it's been around, and it's still fucking. And it's like people can't do or not say anything about it, except keep your head down and live it out, see what happens until Christ comes, or But at least for now, it's important to still keep a conscience, because 3 years later, shit's not getting better. In fact, the whole thing, like I always argue on the hip hop thing, we celebrated 50 years of what? Ignorance? Yes, it was good at one time. But like I said, when Nat King Cole was around and we had jazz and all that good dancing, which still was an exploitation, it still had some class. We still had some decorum. We still had some moral ethic, Whereas today, it's the complete damn opposite. Thus, I was telling another friend today, I said, hey, you know, sorry to tell you this, all you OGs out there, but darn the gangster rap and those people who participated in maybe what we can say today was a covert, post MK generation of the 50 years, because those folks like Tupac and Biggie, who would have been not even still 50 yet today, to mark the date that they were eliminated when they were only 20 what? Nothing. And we can say 30 years later, we can look up to them to something? No. Fuck no. I'm so anti that I'd be like, you should burn the shirt. Burn the last motherfucking 30 years of all that ignorance and all of that, because we could say today, look where it brought us. To the point where now we could be old enough to be grand fucking parents, and hey, God knows, and it starts with us, because now our daughters or daughters' children, and where the fuck did that happen? It didn't happen in 1968 because they were busy like Herod trying to knock out every firstborn to prevent any prophet or Messiah from coming or being alive in this world to help save his people. Bust this.
It's not a coincidence. Damn. Wow. Go back to the video. If this ain't making you mad, I don't know what will. Go ahead.
On they shit from niggas they done killed.
Yeah.
They keeping the score. Do you hear what I'm saying? That's why I say, let's not play with this shit. This is slavery. This is my first day. I'm like, you, what the fuck is this?
First day.
Yeah, you still a kid
too.
You what, 17, 18?
I'm 17.
17.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Pause it. They got him when he's 17. 17. You picking cotton. Come on, man. Hey, what's that movie that we talked about, the Antebellum or something? One of them movies where you think it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, we thought she was going to the past. That was happening then. I done told the movie to something, whatever. If you ain't watched it, it is what it is. But it's happening today. You'll go, no, that was, and then they show you the black and white pictures, make you think it was super old. Yo, that was so long ago. This happening, this brother, he's 20, this is 2022, 23. He just was picking cotton. Hit play, man. Trauma.
Yeah, you still a kid
too.
You what, 17, 18?
I'm 17.
17.
Like, what the fuck is this? Make me get on my knees. One of them get off, handcuff me, right? And I'm thinking this. Well,
watch this.
At least I get a ride back in the building. I'm out this shit. They got me fucked up. No, that's not happening, bro. Guess what they do? Do they whip you? They don't whip you, right? This is what they do. It's hot outside right now, right? Yeah. They have a trailer. Everybody know of a trailer, like they go on the track back of a truck. Yeah. They have a trailer that's enclosed with a fence, a regular fence. They handcuff you in this trailer, put you in this trailer like this, no seats in the trailer or nothing.
You own it
for the rest of the day. Welcome to burning hell.
Pause that. Torture. That's torture. You handcuffed, lay you on your side in a hot, and that's metal, in the sun. And they tell him, welcome to burn in hell. Psychological war. I don't know what that was. Psychological.
I don't even want to say it on the
psychological war, y'all. Remember, because when we read the Willie Lynch letter, it spoke about whips, right? When we read Willie Lynch, he said the whip, they'll use the whip or whatever. On here, he said, nah, they don't use the whip no more. They put him, they torturing you in different ways. That's a mind game. They playing with your mind. When you leave, what you think gonna happen to you? You don't forget that. We don't forget that. And guess what? It's passed down. It's passed down. We're gonna prove that. Go back to the video.
If you in this trailer, put you in this trailer like this, no seats in the trailer or nothing, for the rest of the day. Welcome to burn in hell. I'm telling you, I've been a slave, bro. And that shit ain't nothing to play with. I can tell you this, though.
Watch this.
By day 6, I was the best cotton picking nigga they ever had down in that motherfucker. Look here, say, look here. And I wasn't the only one.
Stop. that goes back to that Leviticus. Eventually, you get broken so much, you just get in line. You don't even. It becomes what normal. You say he the best cotton picker they had, one of the best. After being broken, after having to go through that trauma that he dealt with, and he's still dealing with. You think that's out of his mind? You don't think he still think about that today? Go back to the video.
By day 6, I was the most best cotton picking nigga they ever had down in that motherfucker. Look here, say, look here. And I wasn't the only one. It was some stiff cotton picking niggas down there. Do you hear what I'm saying? Hey, nigga, I'm telling you the honest truth. Meaning they have perfected on mentally and physically breaking niggas. And listen, if you got 2 out of line, I'm finna get to your story too. Listen.
Now hear this. I just want to inject. And once again, thank you for joining the date. Just keeping it real. The mundane, this is your bro, right? Now myself being privileged to be that Gen Xer who grew up north out here in Canada, right? When I was a kid, being that we were part of that whole great migration, you had a lot of West Indians. Even in New York, they went to New York and all that. This is before everything got ghetto, right? We were so encouraged, us being those kids like Martin Luther King was talking about. We were very encouraged to be literate. They even had fucking Sesame Street, right? Because white people were tripping. Some people felt guilty. A lot of people from Vermont and all that. PBS, they said, look. And that's why I always give props to Dr. Joan Gans Cooney, right? Because it took some goodness of heart. They said, these kids got to read. Because don't forget, after the Panthers, they fucking shut shit down. But my whole thing is, in Canada, not perfect, but don't forget, we have at the time we had 10 provinces, all this stuff, and if you were in Quebec, Montreal, that was a different energy as opposed to what was Ontario, Toronto, and a whole different world, different to what Nova Scotia blacks were, because they were from the underground tunnel, and they're badass. We call the Scotians, shout out to my Scotians, right? Because those people, the McDownies, all these names, all these crazy white-ass names, they were straight from the ship. So they gave hey, don't mess with Scotians, right? Just like natives. Don't mess with them. You can have a couple of pints with them, but don't piss them off after 5. But, point being, it still couldn't have been as fucked up and crazy as what all you fucking black people went out, African Americans, whatever you call yourself, with colored and all that, with the movies that came out, with the media that came out, with all we read about Esau. It's like, wow, you guys still want to hang out there, huh? Because from us, at least, and I'm pretty sure almost all the world, before hip-hop happened, we still knew how to articulate our words. We knew how to pronunciate, how to speak. However, not all that perfect. We always had the jive, and we always had, But today, and even that the habits we do pick up. That that Canadian thing, we don't say we're more like hey, but or this. I'm amazed, and I see it right throughout this. Like, I'm not gonna discriminate here, but yeah, I'm your cousin, and we gotta tell you for love, because you guys, Americas, you brothers out there, you and sisters, yes, we're the same here in Canada, but I can tell you different as a Gen Xer who's been around for a minute and know the boomer and know this. It's like no. There was a minute we didn't want to have anything to do with it. Not like it was we were just not as anti-black, but anti-niggerism. Because we seen, even when we used to watch the Jeffersons and all of that, they're crazy, Archie Bunker, all that. We knew it existed here. However, covert racism is here still, and nice. They smile, yeah, it's a liberal thing. Oh, well, there's a whole other onion with that. But you guys still slicing and dicing heads of innocent victims, chasing them after getting a job for a fucking notable whatever type of engineering company. What? Now, not to say that shit that Canada don't do, and hey, we got some deep. Like, if you check out some of my posts, like the Prime Minister's rib, we got this shit nobody knows in Canada anymore, right? We were the Dominion of Canada. The flag changed to the maple leaf in 1967. You had blacks who came to, people were already living here too. Don't forget, maybe like centuries ago, yes, you had that, right? We did great things. At the same time, being, at least for what I could say, being a Canadian meant you shut the fuck up. You didn't play no Negro. That shit didn't go down for no time. And then the 80s happened. Thank you, our American cousins. We took in the hip hop. We liked the rap. Yeah, we opened our mind, right? We weren't that tight up in Canada. Canada was very wicked too, especially in the fit. Yeah, yeah, we had that. But something different happened when hip hop flowed up here because we were fresh and down with it. And he got infiltrated by like bikers and all that shit, right? Because that it wasn't like we had that many bros to begin with. But by the 80s, when more immigrants were coming in, next thing you know, boom, right? Everybody went American way. By 2000, forget about it. And thus I blame, but it wasn't our fault because they were a little younger and we were all young and gullible. Yeah, nah, not today because a lot of what we see, and it's here now in Canada, but I'm amazed that we let literacy go so far gone that I see a lot of posts, and this is with love. I'm like, yes, I know you guys got the Yankee thing, but fuck, I can't almost understand how is it a generation of black killed children born throughout the 90s. Your name that they see mama what fuck like right? Oh, then it was don't dig no yeah right school yeah going on. I'm like wow that's cool but no you know what I'm saying? It's almost demonic, right? Because it's like fuck. It does. It's like yeah, you're not talking in tongues here, and even talking in tongues, that Christian thing is another thing. So I say this with love, even to all of you. I'm not saying I'm perfect, right? But you see, I'm really trying to pronunciate and make it clear and keep the volume right, because that too should be as much a necessity of growth as much as we hear and listen. Like myself, when I listen to IUIC, I hear it brilliant, and I'm like, and I love it. I love my Creole bros, man. I love when they preach because I love that, right? However, tighten up on that reading. We know we have agents looking. We know, and the more we play with this stigma that has happened since the 1980s, based on a kidnapped generation who were probably abused, going through what this gentleman saying has been established for a long time, him being part of the millennial generation, 17 years old, but broken by not only one, but two, but three, and more of all races, it's unacceptable for us to digress further. So, therefore, yes, blessings to all, and may you be safe out there. However, it's with the mind. Make sure, at least try to develop the cognitive ability to express yourself because that has been bamboozled with hip hop. The only thing it gave us, like I said, we used to have a Nat King Cole, Lionel fucking Richie. Sorry, Lionel. I mean, you know what I mean? But like, fuck, we had up until even heck, they gave it to what's the guy, the Filipino guy, whatever. I wasn't all good with that. Bruno Mars, right? But no, that shit ended. You kids don't know what I'm talking about. Listen to what I'm saying. That's why I always say there's a gold nugget in the long rant. That's why you can have your whatever they call your lamentations, do your thing, right? But today there's no there's no lyric or instrumental value, especially with the AI thing. Don't go off on that. Like I said, have discernment. I just explained to you how the media goes also earlier, right? So now, okay, AI. So, but either way, AI can. Who says AI gonna make fucking Nat King Cole, right? It could, if heck, they used to have those twin brothers in New York. I think they used to play the violin. People were bugging out. What niggers with violins? They couldn't believe. Yeah, probably because we invented the shit. I don't know, but the whole point being, we see that we've reached the pinnacle. I personally feel of what and where hip hop is. The end game's coming up because we've been b-boys for fucking 40 years. Hey man, where's when was our 50s, 60s? We're like, what? A fucking b-boy? I don't know. I know my white straight up counterparts. You know what? They can wear baseball caps on the weekend, but generally during the day, they're not about no b-boy. So that's once again the mindset. So hey, Big up the hip hop. Yeah, I'm fresh. All you know what? I think it's played, and I know a lot of us who knew a long time it was played. So when you had the R. Kelly thing, and you had the Cosby thing, so that was also the other big destruction of what was the Goliath, right? The me that shit's kind of, but now it's off the chain. When I say off the chain, case in point, can you imagine any other group getting away? Like, look, if you see the Asians doing it, no, you don't see the Ukrainians doing it. Well, maybe their leader. Yeah, I've seen some videos there. You've seen it, the tights and all that. But most people and their leaders do not pull the shit like they were pulling on what do you call that BET award show. Anyway, big up, but that for the last 30 years, now part of 50 grand years since black exploitation has turned us inside out, and we see, as you're going to hear from this young man before I wrap it up once again, thank you for tuning in to the date about how broken and how weak we are. And yeah, in care, because it's rough. Like, hey, do we go to Africa? I don't know. How's that going to happen? I get a feeling that, you know what, I know white people are going there because the laws had been skewed so different now. And so, once again, even to hear this young man say it, keep it real, and see, like, what, he might be in his 30s. But we have a whole culture, a whole people wearing fucking baseball caps. Right? Not to say, well, what we do since then, it's okay, it is. And I don't want it to sound, oh, he's being old head and all. Fuck that bullshit. There's a reality here. We're definitely not our parents or grandparents of the fucking late 20th century. We're not them. By this time in our age, we'd be wearing old pants, all that, and even they were hip for the times. So don't get that shit twisted. But there is such an identity that goes. Like, I could tell you, if you go to the Middle East, I know there'll be people wearing hats like that, but you know what? They'll be affiliated with how this bro looks. And mostly it'll probably be our people wearing those caps. That's all I'm saying. Not to say the caps are bad. I have, but I hadn't been busting, like, wearing like baseball caps. I have one now. It's rare, but back in, I hadn't bust that shit for years, bro. I even tried to bust dreads, and a few different things, but there came to a point where it's like, nigga can't be wearing a cap every fucking day. And sneaks? What's with this shit buying all of these running shoes? Run for your life shoes, as I call them. Why? Negroes, we really stunted. I'm sorry, but I gotta call it. No, I'm not sorry, but hey, I don't want to hurt feelings, but you're gonna get feelings hurt. And yeah, I had to make at least a plea to let you know. Yeah, I'm sorry it had to turn out like that. I'm sorry hip hop really, like, wow. Somebody's got to say it. I'm saying it. I'm sorry that somehow under my watch in my generation, somehow we didn't have the fortitude or enough of the powers and structure and money that be. Since when, up until maybe even the greatest of it being the end of it, 1989 with Public Enemy and the Arsenio Hall show, right? Because that's when all shit broke loose. Michael Jackson, OJ, all blah blah blah, and what's his name, King, Rodney King, all of that, right? And here we are today. So any child born from that, and as this guy's gonna quote unquote make his point and say, hey, this is what this is what I've been going through. This is what happened to him. I'm like, wow, it's not cool, right? So yeah, you do have to be able to hear what he's saying and take it with discernment that he could be a father, this gentleman here, and what? And as we see, the kid, fuck, I see babies wearing thug boots. I'm like, but it's not the people's fault. It's like, it's a major mass proper hypnosis using the best of what media and propaganda could be. Thus, let's say if we use the pop music world, the entertainment, Hollywood, right? It's all fictitious and whatever they believe in, and it's definitely not godly per se, right? Or it's godly off the chain for some, to the point where they can mock Anu and the powers that be. The power of that tool helped in making us who we are today, even up to today, right? Because I could look at that's why I've been like, let me kick back since April and see what the hell's going on, especially in America. Like I said, I can't believe even today a bro got his head sawed off after being fucking caught on dare cam. How many other people? One of the mother got popped through a door, right? You guys just lost fucking what is it? You lost some. Hold on, I'm just even thinking off the top of my head. Either way, you're back in Jim Crow. That we know, right? Didn't you? Oh yeah, affirmative action. That's gone. Not like you had anything. Not like you were gonna get advantage of it anyway. And we saw how much of a sellout that became, right? And what I'm sure there's so much more that I'm not even mentioning today, and that's probably not even going to be told to you right now. So, when we hear this young man speak, hear what he says, and have discernment. But think of the narrative, and thus, when people come up to you and say, "Wow, it's all perfect," like I said, it's not to blame the others. When we say Esau and the Edomite, what I've learned, the Mzungu, it's not just one thing. It resonates from the beginning of time, and then biblically written in front of us to like observe, which is going to be really hard when the media is the Bible for this world. That, hey, yes, you could actually repent and you could do something good and you get a second chance, right? Maybe not the first round, but maybe you're gonna go there. At least open your mind to know that you can resist and you can be bigger than this, and we can rebuild. We can rebuild music, we can rebuild sound, right? Because at least at this point, nobody has access to that. We have access to tools to make sounds. This is why I like original royalty, right? With the Israelites. So, not rambling with me, but these are thoughts, food for thoughts about how we also, along with realizing where we come from, how to reinvent. Because as much as I loved hip hop, yeah, when I started with 1981, I started breaking, spinning on my head. Loved the hardest core of the best of music was at least up until 1984. After that, eh, eh, we weren't breaking as much. And then the Gen Y came along. They were all up in anything that was pop culture, including The Simpsons, just like us, but overkill with the computer. And yeah, here we are today. So the Edomites who ran that business on the pop, if you go back to the 50s and all that, this was a big win for their money. That it came to a point where case in point, artists like Prince and whatnot, all these folks, we started noticing these guys get whacked every fucking 5-10 years. They get whacked out from Sam Cooke, and they always try to do, and if they did, the most brilliant shit that nobody else could do, right? But they work on the powers that be work on chaos and narcissism. So here we are today. The system that was found to work, that could tune out the most people, became hip hop. And the the few babies that survived that Martin Luther King era, like Tupac and Biggie and all the other few, right, being part of that system, unfortunately, of what happened in the ghettos and everything, and how the you know other Edomites recruited Israelites to be part and partake into what the conspiracies, right? And the sleepovers, and to do this because of the sellout. But this is all part of the brainwashing, right? That happens not only within, of course, the history 500 years, but still today, I would say, in high urgent alert, state of emergency prisoners of war in this generation, because we are prisoners of war.
That's them breaking.
So he went with the brothers. I mean, with the Edomite breaking you. Watch this.
If you get too out of line, them niggas will whoop you out there.
Uh-oh. So hold on. So now with that, remember, he's already your mindset is there. All right, I'm picking this cotton, I'm stuck. I gotta do this. You're traumatized by your enemy. He said, and then if you get out of line even further, Now you got to deal with your own brother. Fighting you. Hey, you ain't finna mess up what I got going on. Y'all, bruh, it's deep, man. Play.
That's them breaking. After that, if you get 2 out of line, them niggas will whoop you out there. Hey, you fucking it up for everybody. You see nigga, if boss man say this nigga ain't acting right, them niggas will whoop you out there. So I went from that to having fights out there. And guess what? Fight, win, lose, or draw. Back to picking cotton.
Wow. So you gotta go through that craziness. Then you get your butt whooped. And then guess what? You gotta go back and pick cotton. Give me Hosea 4:1, man. Our people, man, that let you know. That let you know this is that trauma is insane. Hosea 4:1. Damn. Read that.
Book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 1.
Right.
Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land.
Has a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. Read.
Because there is no truth, no mercy, no knowledge of God in the land.
Nor knowledge of God in the land. Nobody wants to keep the commandments.
So, nobody wants to keep the commandments, and that's what's shaking up everybody these days, right? And this is what we're learning so much about how much people care, and it turns out that care is not what what they're trying to make it out to be, right? They tell you they care about the orphans, and they're still carrying on. Thank you for joining in. I thought I'd share that, and that's that. I'll do it again. I enjoyed the IUIC, what they're doing in the camps, and to let you know what's going on. I saw an article that was claiming, what's his name? Let's see, Royals. The Prince, or whatever you call it, Prince Archie, who was the child of Prince Harry and Meghan. Some folks were trying to do something that wasn't too cool. They were getting weird. I guess the article disappeared. Let me see if I could take it upon my. I didn't want to get into too much searching about it, but I just wanted to give you a little perspective as how much people do when they say they love you, right? Well, they probably got rid of it, and that would be good, because there was some arrest. Let me see. There was a Prince Archie, and there was arrest. It's important to know this because apparently there were some folks who were not cool. Then they wanted to hurt him. I'd be surprised if it didn't make much news. Well, look. See, it's gone now. Well, maybe if I write it better. Let's see. And look at this. But some people are not happy about that, right? Arrested for threat to see, something does come up. So there we go. Don't you dare. So this is in the Daily Mail, Daily Beast. Let's see, June 8th, 4 days ago. Well, let's see what these guys say, right? All right, let's get the full of it. So they say the NN, like SS podcasters, who said Prince Harry and Prince Harry and Meghan's son is an abomination that should be for being mixed, are convicted of terror crime. So this guy, Christopher Gibbons, 38, Tyrone Patton Walsh, 34, launched racist tirades. They denied 8 counts of encouraging acts of like what? But were found guilty, thank God. I'm now here's the thing. When I say that, thank God, I mean, okay, let's think out of the bubble here. We all know about the royal family, blah blah. We forget about it, right? So whatever shall be is or whatnot, right? Either way, and I'll come back to that, like one of the books, which I'll cover on the next edition as we get ready to wrap this up, because it's been a minute. It's now on 5 p.m. Thank you once again for tuning in. Today is the 11th of July. Don't forget to read your Bible as a black book. So you see this going on, and you're thinking, holy crap, this is for the kid. Without them, you think if they learned that, hey, the royalty we were around for a minute way before you guys, or maybe they do know, and that's why they bugging like that, right? So this is why I like this book, The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles. This is one of the better goods to take a look. And Black Britain, Black Russian, Russian General Abram Petrovich Ganyabal, 1696-1781. There are many portraits of common blacks still in existence in Europe. For those still not convicted of the degenerate lying nature of the albinos, we offered the explanation for these native European blacks. They're African, that's right. Whenever a portrait of a European black is encountered, the explanation is always, it's an African. For even the dimmest reader would know that humans breed and congregate in extended family groups, tribes, and larger groups. So, upon seeing a few, question would be, where are the rest? As we all know, the best way to hide something in plain sight is to call it something else. Thus, Russian General Gannibal is described as an African. So, this shows you that it was some bros. So, once again, you could have had bros way back since everywhere along this line in the land, and some would become turncoats. But the so-called the man being Esau, it was always the preference of make it still lighter and lighter without, eliminate the dark, eliminate the melanin. Why? Well, they created eugenics. So this is a great book. I bought that book, and I would love to also read some excerpts of that. Do I have any? Actually, well, there were some download links, but let me see here. You know what? I'll have to come back to it, but I don't have it. But it's by Dr. John L. Johnson. And there, maybe we could, and of course, there we go. He's also written a book, the Hamitic Bible Dictionary, right? And it's like, it basically documents the African contribution by classifying every letter of the alphabet, sounds and all biblical words, including every conceivable thought as having a direct root to the African sacred name Ham, black, Ham, the godly name Ham, right? But Ham is not Shem. You dig? Shem is part of 12 tribes of Israel. There we go. So these are the great books, and of course this one being the Negro Rulers, right? And some others, brilliant book, very brilliant book, and it really hooks you up, and you get to see like who these kings are. And of course here, this is a text. It highlights the earliest African rulers of Scotland, Southern Ireland, United Kingdom, and a chronicle that focuses upon the Elgin dynasty from Kenneth MacAlpin and his great-great-grandson Kenneth Dub, or W, or Kenneth the Nigger, Black, Duff, or Duffy, right? Whose descendants of different appearances continued to rule Scotland, England, Ireland, and other nations of Europe, even until this day. So, all of that saying, remember the name if you want to even do a Google search, Kenneth Dub, or Kenneth the Nigger, because that's how they pronounce it with a hard G, because it was the land of Niggerland, right? Look it up. Black, Duff, or Duffy. So if your last name is Duffy or McAlpin, You're a bro. Guess what? Your great grandfather was Kenneth the nigger. That Kenneth the nigger today. So definitely, I'll come back to that and read you a bit of that. So let's just go back to that whole weird. So right, these kids are dipping and they're tripping and they're going off. So Christopher Gibbons, 38, which is what generation you see, at least born in the late 80s. Tyrone Patton Walls, 34, host of Wolf Radio, Black Wolf Radio, where they launched. I didn't even know people can actually get radio. I probably have to go to a radio station, but look, you see, where they launched homophobic, racist, anti-black, Semitic, Islamophobic, and misogynist tirade. All right, so they said an abomination that should be put down. 3 months later, they were arrested. Right? Okay, I ain't saying anything. So maybe this bro is more black than her, right? But once again, we're talking about uh, those who are not of the tribe. You know, I understand that. Hey, she's probably not of the tribe, from what I understand. That being said, that was, I believe they're. Well, this is my twin. He's the same birthday as me, so September 15th. Don't trust us. We we won't trust you. So the only thing I could say about all of this, you should have seen this shit coming, right? I mean, yeah, because he's part of the generation. I remember he was born in 1983, two. So that's the generation of integration, but a lot of folks didn't get the invite to the cookout. Maybe she didn't have ever been to a cookout because her, the father is is from Edom, right? I don't know. What were they thinking? But have discernment with the news, right? So now because this is happening or this happened, people are tripping and they're saying, well, they don't even want to go about the history of what I just showed you. They're stuck in that. They ain't gonna ever learn anything, and you folks gonna have to accept that. Look, I'm not even bothered reading it. He also endorsed a Labor MP, Joe Cox, a problem. Wow, look at that. And this person, this was an Labor, and so murdered by this SS in her constituency, Bailey, West York. Yeah, you see, I don't see no Israel running around have the power to even do that. And these people they always get like arrested like 3 months later, and this da 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 da. Let's see, an internet library containing hundred of so. This is my whole case in point, and this is why at least when I'm posting this, hopefully YouTube will enjoy this show. I tried to keep everything nice and clean. This is just the update because they love that too, right? And this will resonate everyone. And you see, but this is allowed to go off. They get off on a couple of black bros who are not that packing or anything, walking on the street saying, "Hey, look, you know what? You got the blood of Jesus in you more than you think. You're related, and you've been hijacked. Okay, that's cool. But the Amish are okay. Yes, they're okay too. Hey, no problem. But these guys can go, right? 21 episodes of a series. See, look, five. And if you can't read it, 500 videos. It's all 1,000 subscribers. See, so they would say, let's throttle the truth, but we're going to give you. So the takeaway from this is, yeah. Sometimes you just gotta not worry about it. Keep your head down and just chill and watch. Take the popcorn and watch, because that wickedness could only go so far, right? And even with whatever synagogue of that Satan that these folks like, because even some smart Satanists would say, well, it's not all about that. And that's a whole different spiritual trip. That's why they like that. You ever see their Baphomet with the black boy and the blonde girl, which we assume is, yeah, they're all about that. Twist up, twist up. But they'd be like, nah, we're not all about taking out the royal bloodline. I mean, after all, you do that, he could be a runner up for Jesus, but do we play that? You get what I'm saying? right? Anyway, fuck, yeah, but it's extreme view, blah blah. You know what? Here's the thing, and I hate to say it, but good for them, right? Because they were able to get away with it, and nobody did anything, and that's the world we see today. Especially when folks like this look at uh, this as an abomination. You dig? Let me see if we got a preview here. Boom. Let's see if yeah, here we go. You ready? You ready for it? Oh, I guess we have to. Okay. Let's see. Will they give it? Okay, so that's the preview. And I just want to show you if we could get a picture. Can I? Oh, sorry. I wanted to get you one of the pictures because anyway, I have the. We'll figure that out. But this is the when I was saying the W, Richard the Third, Henry the what, fourth, grandson of Edward the Third. Yeah, this should so those folks, they ain't ready for that, right? What is this from here? While we're here, okay. So there's no other news on it, and it's one of those things that how can we say? This is one of many things. And do I feel bad for what's happening? Well, once again, like what were people thinking, right? I don't know. Did folks really think this was going to be all okay? Especially since what they did to the grandmother, right? Like, I don't know. I just feel that it's one of those things where you have to have the discernment. But once again, the big picture. This is only 3 years after 2020. So what the fuck do I know what I'm talking about? We started the new world in World War III, which happened in what? Uh, well, like it's you know what they say it's 500 days. So yeah, let's say we started this shit off. I feel more it was like at the end of the lockdowns. I would say so because that's when like we've already been 3 years from that. So what do you know, right? What are you hearing in the news today? One of the good channels I've been watching on YouTube is what they call those. Uh, yeah, who didn't make it today? You should really check that. Anyway, so once again, thank you for popping by. Um, just before I wrap up, I'm going to show you other spots that I like to go. I'm also on Getter, respect to Getter. You can really share your shit out there. Yeah, and the fans are out there, and yeah, I share a lot of the Israelites here. This is really show on Result Toronto, it's called. And yeah, all you Yankees out there, rednecks and all, we love you. Look at that. See, this is better than 500 because you know what? They listened. They're not playing. They're like, help us. Can you help us? Yeah. I'm not ordained no priest, but I can like show you the way I grew up. Like I said, growing up back in the day, we were probably more supremacists back then because you had to be Canadian. You dig? You couldn't be playing. Oh, I don't know how to be illiterate. That came later. So yeah, you can bust me up there. Check that. Bust up a thing, bun up a thing. And I'm also on BitChute because BitChute, you know what? They don't play with this whole, oh, we can't give you views, right? At least you can see that the folks are like listening and they're like, damn, I want to hear that. And yeah, they don't play. So do what you gotta do. Do you. And also, I want to say a special brought to you by Twitter. Welcome back to that. So yeah, that's me. Because everybody, who's that nigga talking all the fucking time? That's me, all right? Get over it. And these are my boys, my homeboys, and that whole clan, right? So when I was recovering, because as we say, the world went through an explosion. So I'm one of those people recovering. I was very vocal about uh, the whole chain of events that took place. And I was one of those people who were like, oh, you gotta, they were like, bye, bye. So thank you, Mr. Musk, who's also a Gen Xer. Yeah, so I'm back, and that's why I see, keep your head. I'll just see here. I'll share certain things. because he's giving the permission to do that. But have discernment, right? Because everybody's so touchy, right? That's why I can pull this episode off and say, "Yeah, what's up? Yeah, yeah, we're good, we're good, we're there. Yeah, yeah, you okay? You okay? Yeah, yeah, we're there." So, I'll come back around, maybe pop up in another while, who knows? So yeah, welcome back to Twitter. I've been just sharing the real shit, right? Yeah, yeah, he's okay. It's funny, because 5 years ago, and hey, here's another thing. I realized I'm not afraid to say I was wrong regarding who we voted in the past. Oh, we were also wrong, right? So good. A lot of people can't deal with that right now, so they trip it. Yes, follow. I don't know about the parody. Eh, I am serious. I'm a serious dude. So yeah, welcome back. I thought I popped by. What's this now? Let's see. The clone. The clone, and who's the other one? Get into the groove. I saw that, and I'm thinking. Let's see. Any news? Yeah, we'll get back to that. Oh, hold on. Let me see. Uh, okay. So I'm like, a decade ago. Was it a decade? No, already I lost track of time. Was it 15 years ago? This Is It was going to come out around that time, and then isn't that weird that something happened to that person, right? So I just thought, and then not too long ago was it Prince, but he was in April. But like, oh wow, well, so we hope people get well, and she gets well. uh that don't look like her though. I mean, it's her, but it doesn't seem like you can tell by the type of fontish. It don't. I'm just saying, hey, you know what? You never know, and we expect the best that folks get well, and she gets well. But nowadays, right? I mean, even if they were going to tell you the truth, you're still going to have to wait it out, right? So yeah, so I'm sharing Twitter as we go, like a live news thing. Let's see, ha ha ha, as we're wrapping this up. Anything to see? Oh fuck no, not really. What? Apologize? What? Following him? What now? Ooh, see, right? I think I'm going to share that because once again, a lot of us had been affected by that, and that's when I said that's when the world ended for a lot. And now, after since what date is this? 2021. Now it's 2023. July 7th. Well, yeah. Let's just see how things play out, I guess. So thank you very much for tuning in. Uh, this is the date, and this is Mr. Rickahardis David, otherwise known. Oh my God, that's weird. I don't like that. Here, let's share this. Let's hope she's well enough to to go on tour. How about that? She's another one. Oh, yeah, I'm coming out on tour, the big tour. Yeah, right. He's this guy. What? Insanity is when. Yeah, I agree. Look, now look at this. I don't even know what to say. You see what I'm saying? When you sit down and you actually take a break, because I know a lot of people are out there. They're like, "Oh, let's go out at the parade." All that, yeah, yeah, yeah. There was no caravana in Montreal. This is actually the first post. This show is dedicated to Montreal. May your wickedness rest in peace. Since I last went down there a couple of months, I saw half of like the freaking downtown from Atwater, which used to be the Montreal Forum. Same, oh, it's dead, dead, dead. See, and I hear about all the crime happening in the village, which was, there was no discrimination then. We had ACT UP, we had those, we were the people who was advocating for safe sex, which people are afraid to say today because people don't have sex no more. But yeah, we were advocating for safe sex using condoms so you didn't catch AIDS, which was invented by people like the likes of. So, yeah, shout out to Montreal in this episode. I hope you guys recover, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Yeah, let's see what's going on in Africa these days. Did you see all the bros fighting? I'm like, since when did like you get so many? Like, I'm telling you, right? And people can say, well, it's with the times, and it's so like, no, bro. I seen all those bros getting chased down by horses. They brought that shit back. They brought horses to Montreal. I remember before I left like over 20 years. And I'm no turning back. And now what I've seen when I went to just visit, same. They fucking got horse. They're back on that. They did that 20 years before. Now they full on horses running down Negroes in the street, and a bunch of them, hey, suck boss, hey, more guys, yeah. And they might have one or two white girl in there. What they doing there, I don't know. But I'm like, wow. And the village also has a high narcotic, as we say. There's no safe supply there. So that turned totally hood. Since when I was a generation youth growing up there, everybody peace, love, don't matter who you were, what you were, But there were more people who were not selling the thing of what they were. See, there were people who they were, well, who they were, not trying to tell you, well, what they thought they were supposed to be anyway. You get what I'm saying. So look at this. I'll share this before we wrap this up. Once again, thank you for tuning in. Check out the post. It's long enough, right? I think I said enough. It's mundane. I'm not here to be like overloved because I had to learn to be. You have to learn to be very independent nowadays, bro. Yay! And I've been trying to read trying it. I'm honest. I'm trying to read the Bible, but I've been reading other books at the same time. So I digress on saying I haven't been reading. I'm trying to line up the history, like the Scythians, with the Bible. See, it actually makes the Bible that I've been reading right now, like looking into Isaiah. Wow, my mind's more blown, especially seeing it that it's these bros who are in jail. What? Anyway, so let's see what this OG Negro here doing. So that's a Lunaby. I don't want to trust that too much. But you see, I'm not all about this big thing. I just come by, say hi. But I know the powers that be wanted to, like what's up? What's up? Okay, let me see. I'm pretending to be a prophet. Hey, time to tune in. 1 hour. It's 5:26 p.m. I gotta wrap up. Tune in for another impactful, fact-filled shout out Tuesday. Why these 10 African tribes went into slavery tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, only on IUIC TV app. Stay in the spirit. Okay, share, retweet. You have a heart. What's he saying? I can't smile. Because he, you know what? Yeah, shout out to Dr. Peterson. He's a Montreal or former Montreal, whatever. Like, he's off the hook, eh? Like off the chain for real. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. You'll notice even the conversation's changing these days, right? Join the booster club. Yeah, you guys get one, sure. Yeah, so I used to see these bros, and back when they was West, 8 West, whatever, in the States as a Canadian, and it's like, yeah, we need this. We need this. Look, I'm not gonna put the volume up. I'm just because you know what? Let you read that. Okay? So you all can have that, and as they say, it's a pipe smoker. And yeah, so I'll probably come back and share some extra readings with you. Uh, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on this earth as it is in heaven. Give us today and every day our daily bread. And please forgive us of our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. But lead us not into temptation to do dumb shit, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
sure how long it's gonna hold. There's warning lights everywhere. Abort! Abort! We've lost comm. Look out. It's out of control.